Welcome to the Motorcycle Mavericks podcast, here in the Law Tiger studio, where we get raw
and real with our good friends within the motorcycle community. Hey there, everybody. I really want to share something very important and near and dear to me. It's called UM and UIM, uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage for your motorcycle. It's something you can't afford not to have. We are lawyers, we represent injured riders, but you need to still call your insurance broker and ask them about maximizing that coverage so that in the unlikely event you get in a motorcycle accident, we can get you the compensation you deserve. Don't hesitate, don't wait. Call today and maximize your insurance.
Welcome back to the Motorcycle Mavericks podcast. We're in the studio again, and we have one goal. Well, let's say two goals in here every single time, and that's to get raw and real with iconic people, well-known people in the motorcycle industry.
How about real and raw?
Real and raw, raw, real, however you want to say it. I mean, that's the goal. Is we've got two goals, and we got to accomplish them. And I'm excited because I say this every time. I'm excited about this guest. I'm excited about this guest. But this is somebody that I've known for a long time. You've known us for a long time as well. I have never really fully understood what this guy does.
I still don't understand what he does, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's into everything. He's touching this. He's touching that. I don't know what levers he's pulling. I don't know how he makes money. I think he has a sugar mama. I think his lovely wife.
I think
it's something. Yeah. So without any further ado, of course, we have Mr. Jason Sims with us here in the studio.
Good to be here today.
And
good to have
you got to tell us, who is Jason Sims?
Oh, man. I know we only got 90 minutes. I mean, honestly, we could probably go into a flipping novel on this thing and be here for 7-8 hours if you really.
This is a therapy couch, by the way.
You want to really dive in?
Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't the casting couch.
No, therapy couch.
Anyway, I mean, it's man, I've done a lot of stuff, and just experienced a lot of things, and a lot of people know me as I'm a very quiet and laid back dude, and but the people that know, they know, and it's just I don't know. I was just sitting here thinking of all the stuff, even just in the last year that I've done, and I mean, we could be here for a long time because I've touched a lot of cool stuff and done a lot of cool things. So,
well, for me, it was I met you well over probably about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at the Glencoe Campground.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk a little more about Glencoe. Yeah. And I remember I'm talking to Sean, the owner, and I didn't know. It was one of the first, maybe 2 or 3 times I've ever spoken to Sean. And in walks this clean-cut, clean-shaved, yellow glasses kid.
Yeah, what happened, by the way? Some of this.
It's Jason.
That's right.
And had no clue. Like, I thought at the time, no disrespect, I thought he was a barback. I thought he was,
I thought he was his son.
Yeah, something like that.
I get that a lot. Like, everybody's, oh, that's your dad. I'm like, dude, we're only like 3 or 4 years apart,
That's either testament to your youth or his age,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
But I had no clue your involvement at actual Glencoe.
Right.
And literally thought you were just one of the hired help that came in to run the rally. And, for everyone who doesn't know Glencoe, you need to crawl out of the rock that you've been living under and realize that the Sturgis rally doesn't happen without the Glencoe Campground.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I've known you for over a decade. In the first few years, you were very quiet, subdued. Now we're good friends.
Mm-hmm.
You help me acquire all kinds of stuff that I probably don't need, but that I love, which we'll talk about later. But, talk to us about this relationship and how'd you get involved with Glencoe and Sean?
Kind of a unique story, actually. Motorcycling's been in my blood, since I was 2 or 3 years old. I've been a huge supporter of Sturgis. I've had a lot of fun throughout the years there. And come to find out, I mean, it was one of these things. I used to rent my house out to a group of lawyers every year in Rapid City. And, they would have my house for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and I would just go live in Sturgis. So I was either one at Glencoe, I was at the Buffalo Chip, I was living downtown at, all the different bars, the Iron Horse, the Broken Spoke. I left reality for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and just was 100% motorcycling. And I'd actually met Sean at the campground, at Glencoe, and he was somebody that was from out of town, didn't know anybody, kind of just jumped into this thing. I mean, he'd been to the rally a few times, but had no contacts personally. Me living in Rapid City, at the time I owned a electrical contracting business. I was tied in with every contractor in South Dakota, all the local people. I've been around. I was into motorcycling, and Sean approached me and said, "Hey, how would you feel about coming to work for me?" And I'm like, No. I said, I come here, I got friends coming from all over the world to ride with. I got no interest in job. I mean, I got enough jobs the way it is. I don't need another one. And anyway, he begged me for a while. And then it finally came to the point and said, you know what, I'll break down. I'll help you for this year, try to get you through it. And it was a freaking shit show. I mean,
was?
It was. Well, it still is, but it's more of a controlled shit show than it was back then. Back then, it was like, when we got into this thing, it was staying up 23 hours out of the day, trying to make this thing was done and this. And, we try to make everything perfect. And now we realize, you ain't got to do everything perfect. Everything doesn't have to be exactly the way you want it. A party's still going to happen, whether you got a coat of paint on this or this part is clean or, this part's taken care of. The party's still going to happen. Right. So, we've lessened a little bit in that fact. And I remember that first year helping them. I mean, I was overwhelmed. And,
sure.
And I'm used to high stressful situations, and I was just like, what the hell did I get myself into? One, having 180 some employees working under you.
Bunch of old dudes with their dinglings hanging out, right? That's
it was more like, damn, I'm a full-time babysitter now, you know, and it's like just seeing what was going on because, I had seen Glencoe and I had experienced Glencoe and I love Glencoe, but seeing it from the backside and actually getting to see everything rather than just one little concentrated area, it was really eye-opening.
Sure.
And, I mean, it was like, basically it was kind of like fighting a war is kind of the analogy that I go after. It's like, you get this ramp up and, all this excitement and, you're running full time all the time and you're going, and then all of a sudden it's just like, poof, everybody's gone, all 10 to 15,000 people that are on your property are gone. And it's like, shit, what the hell just happened? It's just like,
so what are the challenges? You got like a bunch of part-timers that come and go.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost all transient help, when Sean took it over, all them years ago, basically he started everybody from scratch. It was, a lot of the people that had worked there for the old owner, Gary, a lot of them didn't come on board, I mean, there was a lot of changes going on, just the way that the property was being operated, the way that buildings were turned into different things. And, people don't like change that often. And there was a whole lot of change. So with that came all new employees, trying to appease the people that had been there for 20 or 30 years. And, so, I mean, we were really kind of fighting an uphill battle. And anyway, I mean, after the first year, it was one of those things. I mean, me and Sean didn't even talk for like 3 or 4 months. It was just like,
like, you ruined the rally for me.
Oh, yeah. And I was like,
thanks, Sean.
And then, when we finally came down and, started getting into the second year, even the second year was tough. And I didn't want to do it. But I really kind of sat back and thought, like, I've really experienced the rally from the partying, the riding, the hanging out. Why not? I kind of changed my mentality. Like, maybe it would be kind of cool to see it from the other side, to be a part of it and, set the wheels in motion and become one of these people that can create experiences for other people. And that's how I would basically get my payment. Like, I love fulfilling experiences for people. It's a lot of that's payment for me. And it was just kind of like that. And, now it's been 16 or 17 years that I've been with the property. And
wow.
And I love seeing that side of it now. I mean, do I wish I could go back and, have the party and hang out with my homies and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. But, I also like, creating something that is a life-lasting impression for other people.
What's the craziest shit that's ever gone? Like, is there a story?
Dude, I mean,
like,
is this show, is this PG or is this like X-rated? I mean,
besides the old guys with their schlongs hanging out when you drive through.
Right.
But is there?
I mean, for the people that don't know, I mean, Glencoe is a very adult-oriented property. I mean, and that's kind of the best analogy that I can put. I mean, we are of like mind with these people that, we always kind of set out forth that, we would want a property that we would want, we want to put this place together. Like, we didn't want no rules. We didn't want to be dictated. We didn't want to say, oh, you can't bring your alcohol in. We didn't want to gouge you. I mean, we're one of the only properties that allow bottled beer on the property. You know, our restaurants are full plates, china, silverware, you know, glasses. And we're the only rally property that offers that, you know, and I mean, we're big on like experiences. So, I mean, I don't want to go to the rally and eat a steak off a paper plate with a plastic knife.
But that's the difference. So you guys are serving steak. You're serving some of the best prime
Food's
rib.
good.
You've got
Food's
great.
good.
I mean, the chefs there are killing it. And you're right. Nobody wants a prime rib on a paper plate.
My favorite is actually the chili cheese dogs.
Oh, I love them.
I'm partial to those and the fries.
Oh, the Chicago dogs. Ugh. Making me hungry already.
That's right.
But no, it's just all about the experience. And it's like, you know, we've always set out to the plan that we never wanted to gouge anybody. So, I mean, all of our beer and alcohol prices are what you're going to spend at, you know, going to Bighorn Steakhouse or, you know, any typical place. I mean, we're not adding $2-3 premiums, you know, when a rally comes. I mean, our prices are prices.
Sure.
You know, we want people to have a good experience and not come away like, oh, damn, I just spent all my life savings here and I don't feel like I got anything for it, you know? So
very cool.
We've always been good at that. And, you know, it's the entertainment, like, you know, we're always trying to put in good entertainment. You know, the cleanliness we're big on. I mean, most of our stuff goes into like upgrading showers, just making the thing nice, actually making it a resort that you want to come back to year after year and not being like, oh, this place was a shithole. Yeah. All I did was sit in mud all week and got dirty. And, you know, I mean, you bring in nice stuff, you want to have a nice time, and that's what we're trying to do.
All right, so quit dancing around the question. What's the craziest stuff we've never seen at Glencoe? You've seen, okay? You told us how great the showers are, okay? I'm happy you have a story.
Give us a story.
I could tell you a lot of shower stories that I've seen. It's one of those things. I every year I say, man, I've seen everything now, because I'll see something totally off the wall, something like perverted or something that somebody built. Like, you know, we have nightly parades. It's kind of like a Mardi Gras, you know, people handing out beads. You know, these guys are making like custom vehicles, like big wheel wagons, you know, golf carts, you know, things that can carry 30, 40 people at a time. It's just a big party atmosphere.
Lots of blow up dolls. I've noticed
a lot of that, you know, and it's like, man, they really outdid themselves. You know, like I've seen everything now, and then every year it's like, man, I was like,
there's structures.
I would have never expected that.
There's like structures that people build, right? Like,
oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Actual structures. Yeah. You know, we let some of our good time customers actually build their own permanent structures out on the campground for year to year, and let them store stuff out there. And you know, and like I said, I just shake my head sometimes, like, man.
He's obviously not going to answer the question.
No. But I gotta keep, you know, some stuff private. You know, I mean, I gotta make you want to come and see what the crazy shit is that's going out there.
You've got to set me straight here. I've heard a rumor that Glencoe actually has the largest outdoor amphitheater in the state of South Dakota.
Actually, it's in North America.
Okay.
So it's got the largest amphitheater in North America. The old owner, about I guess it's been 15 years ago, was about the last time that it's ever been used. The outdoor amphitheater actually has a capacity to fit 125,000 people in it. You know, it's got everything from underground sprinkler systems to, you know, big ticket booths. We got about 100 acres of parking. It's just a heck of a facility, you know. I mean, unfortunately, it's been dark since, you know, we've been involved with the property, and it's only the fact that, you know, I'm not a music promoter, you know, Sean's not a music promoter, and it's just trying to find the right people that mesh with us to partner with on a property. Because we've come close a few times. I mean, we've danced around with a few people, and you know, when it comes time to the prom and the dance, it just didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, because that's the difference. Like you know, obviously, you guys have another big campground with the Chip, and they have huge bands and lots of promotion. Obviously, they don't have the trees. It's a little more.
Right.
I think they don't have near that capacity. What do they have? A third of that?
What's their concert capacity there?
I think it's probably somewhere in the 10 to 20,000.
Oh, that's it, really?
Yeah, it's just that open area. I mean, it's not massive.
Is it just too expensive to take a chance?
I mean, I've heard numbers that they get 100,000 people in there, but
Yeah.
if you do the math, it
Doesn't.
you know, it doesn't equal
So why-
out,
what is
Well,
it?
everyone's on each other's shoulders, okay?
Yeah.
And the footprint is too.
You'd have to go 3 or 4 high to maybe.
It's just taking that risk. Sean's just not ready to
Yeah,
make that.
yeah. I mean,
Because it's a big. I know it's a huge investment. You could lose your
I mean,
shirt,
it
right?
is. I mean, that and basically what happened with the old owner of the property. He got into doing music promotions. He put a ton of money into his
Yeah,
amphitheater,
Guns N' Roses and all that.
and
Yeah.
he went bankrupt.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
you're either
'cause-
going to do good or you're not. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, the people are not going to do good. You know, I mean, there's a lot of competition in
Sure.
town.
Right.
You know, with the chip, with the full throttle.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the place is doing free concerts.
Sure.
And like I said, it just never been a good fit with bringing in another partner to on that aspect of it.
It's tough. I know there's another guy who got in some trouble in Florida for kind of getting above. Got a little bit, you know, just had the
Right.
big bands and economically didn't work out. And
Right.
you know, I've heard that happen quite a bit. Where
I see it a lot in the industry. You know, people
Yeah.
think, "Oh, I'm going to make all my money on doing this," and
yeah,
you know, you invest $3 million to buy one band. You know, with
Right.
by the time you get the production, paying the band,
Yeah.
your employees, and then it freaking rains on you.
right.
What do you do? You know, I mean, and insurance isn't even
Sure.
if you do get insurance, if you pay the expensive, it's not going to cover everything.
Correct.
Then you're going to have a bad name. You know,
Right.
people, oh, they didn't do this, and you didn't fulfill it, and
Or
you know,
even if
what
you
did we get? I mean, and that's why we've never really
Sure.
got into the big music scene.
Well, I think the other issue is just trying to monetize it. Like you try to bring in enough people. Like we even have Arizona Bike Week here, and they've had
Mhm.
great bands, but I've seen it half full. It's a
Right.
struggle you got to sell enough ticket sales just to break even. And so
right,
the big band, I think the Chip, they monetize it because they charge a package for the
Mhm.
whole the whole
Yeah, the
time.
whole-
So they can and they have big sponsors, you know, big major
Right.
sponsors. So
But there's a
their model
difference though,
works.
because I get that music is a big part of our industry.
Mhm.
Everyone likes music. We like motorcycles. But where I really give credit to you guys at Glencoe is you're just staying true to motorcycling.
right,
You're not trying to bridge multiple gaps and build an all-encompassing place. Because you said bring the party, come and party here. And I've heard
Right.
you say this before, so I don't mean to take the words from your mouth, but you want them to go enjoy the rally, but then this is where they come to finish it.
exactly.
still
So
have
we want
cool
you to go out,
bands.
enjoy
Yeah.
your whole
Yeah.
day, have a good time,
Yeah.
and then come back and party with us at nighttime.
You still got some cool bands like
Oh
Quiet
yeah,
Riot
absolutely. I
and
mean,
Hairball and all those guys,
we've booked a lot of '80s bands,
Yeah.
country acts. You know, it's not like we're just getting a guy off the street or anything.
Sure.
I mean, we do get into the music promotion a little bit that way. You know, doing some of the '70s, '80s, and '90s bands. You know, we like to do country. It always does well for us. You know, some of the newer rap stuff, hip hop rap. You know, we enjoy having that. We always get
Yeah.
good crowds. And then we bring in kind of the regional acts that are known for the rally, like the Jasmine Canes,
Yep.
and people like that. That kind of go from rally to rally. They have people
Following,
just
yeah.
a good party band. You
Yeah.
know, people like to come see them. They have a good time. The bands are out there partying with them afterwards, and
That's cool.
you know, we just like to do it that way. You know,
That's cool. So I don't know if I'd ever tell you a story, but when I was in grade school, you know, there's a few of us got picked on, and this one guy, Ryan Jenkins, he
I
he
know
would-
Ryan.
Ryan would protect us. He wasn't the portly guy that he is now. He was the buff guy in 7th and 8th grade, and I hadn't seen him in years. And I walk in like 7, 8 years ago to Glencoe, and who I see working behind the audio is Ryan. He's been with you for years, hasn't
oh
he?
yeah, he's been almost from day one. I think he was our very first person that we got. Sean's an Arizona native, California native, so he'd met Ryan doing like, it wasn't Arizona Bike Week, but it was like the Laughlin River Run
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. And say, hey, I need somebody to come do music. We're going to start doing music at the campground, and so he'd implanted Ryan from Arizona.
Yeah.
And I think we've only been without him maybe like 2 or 3 years out of like the 16 or 17
Yeah.
years that we've been there now. So great relationship. We
Yeah.
we can count on him.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And and that's what's good about Glencoe is
Right.
we have a group of people like that like to come back year after year, and and it's made it easier for us. That's why I'm
Of course.
saying it's not much of a shit show anymore. It's more of a controlled chaos, and
Yeah.
more of a controlled circus now than it is,
Well, that
because
Ball-
we've got the people.
Yeah, remember that show with Ballard, the one that he did a couple years ago? That was like watching that online. That was a shit show. Oh my
It
god,
was like a train wreck.
yeah. And I'm like, I wonder if they're all like that.
And it really is. It's like,
yeah,
it's like, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, certain places do certain things to people, and you know, drama is what kind of creates and
that's true.
and fuels some of those places, and that's what gives them their atmosphere. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, that's, they're always saying, I get a good kick like, oh, you know, Woody's your competition or Ballard's your competition. And it's like, nah, I don't really see them as competitors. I see them as, you know, kind of partners in a different, you know, people are getting different experiences from different places, you know.
Well, I like to hear you say
our
that.
place is way different than this. And, you know, I'd rather work with these people than not work with them because,
100%.
one, I just want the people to keep coming to Sturgis and have the experience.
Yeah.
And then I don't, you know, do I like having all the people on my property at once? Yeah, it's cool. But, you know, I want them to get out there and do different things. And, you know, we try to give them ideas. Hey, go do this day. Go, you know, go visit this day. And it's, life's about choices.
That's
and,
true.
You know,
that's true.
We want to make sure you get as many choices as possible.
To hear you say that you don't look at them as competitors is a big thing, because I have said this for years. My hat's off to the city for putting on the rally.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't for the three of you all, there would be no rally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the entertainment. You are the experience. You are what people talk about. The city is what the city is, and that's go downtown, enjoy it, see it, check it off your list. But the memories of Sturgis, the love that we have of Sturgis that you guys are creating is because of you guys, your properties.
It's huge. I mean, and really, I mean, we kind of hear it. I mean, it's almost going on right now with the city of Sturgis, like what's going on. I mean, is a city of Sturgis going to give up on a rally? Well, the rally's going to still keep going. I mean, it takes me back to like 4 or 5 years ago now when COVID happened, and they're like, oh, we're shutting the rally down. You know, we're doing this. I mean, we were having meetings with Kristi Noem and, you know, the governor and the senators, and they're like, you know, how are we going to shut this thing down, or can we shut it down? And, you know, they were basically relying on us campground owners and venue places to be like, hey, you know, we don't think we can go through with this with COVID going on. And I'm like, dude, you better call in the frickin' National Guard, because there's no way I'm going to keep these people on my, they're coming regardless, whether you say it's closed or not.
Right.
And if I try to keep my doors closed, these people are going to bust down the door and they're going to come in.
Yeah.
Said, you know, if you're going to have to bring in the National Guard to stop it.
That's
because
crazy.
I can't do it.
Right.
I can't, nor do I want to do it.
That was still, even the COVID year, you guys had a decent turnout.
Oh,
didn't
it was
you?
huge. It was huge. I mean, because people,
international news.
They were ready to get out of there, you know. And
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we tried to do what we could for protocols and to keep people safe and healthy. And, you know, I mean, we still had a really good time, you know. I mean, it was probably one of our best and funnest years that I can remember to date, you know, just because everybody was like pro-Americana, you know, they were like pro-life, like, let's do this. And, you know.
Well, we're all cooped up, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was good to be.
Yeah, now we're back to being assholes.
What's healthier than riding a damn motorcycle out in nature, you know?
That drove a lot of sales. That was good for the industry. So, obviously, you've got your history with Glencoe. I noticed you're wearing a cool little motorcycle Cannonball.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, obviously, you're the owner of the Cannonball and the Chase. What drove you to get involved? How'd you get involved in this whole thing? And
how do you go from electrical work to campground security to motorcycle Cannonball?
Renaissance man.
Well, you know, like I said, I mean, motorcycling's been in my blood since I was 2 or 3 years old. You know, I was raised by my grandfather, and he'd been into motorcycling his whole entire life. So, you know, when I was old enough to walk and stand, you know, he put me on a bike, and, you know, I just remember everything from back in the day, and it never really left my blood. You know, I was in high school riding a motorcycle, you know, to school. I got in the military. Instead of buying a car, I bought a motorcycle, you know, and rode it all the time. It was just always in my blood, you know, and I always liked, you know, growing up in Rapid City, just outside of Sturgis, you know, I remember, and I've got patches that 1983 was my first rally, you know. I mean, it's now been over 40 years that I've been going to these things. I missed 1 year that, you know, when I was in the military, I was stationed over in Saudi Arabia. It was the only year that I missed since 1983. I mean, granted, 1983, I was only I don't want to really age myself, but I was just a little guy.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. I won't say what age I was.
Preteen.
What branch of military are you in, by the way?
I was in the Air Force.
For how long?
Almost like 5.5 years I was in there. Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
It was
or not.
law enforcement
Yeah.
in the military, which is kind of funny because part of my story, and I wasn't such a good kid, from probably 8, 9-ish. I was already in the biker lifestyle, the 1%. I was a 1% kid, and I grew up, in trouble with the law quite a bit. And it got to be one of these things that the local judge was like, dude, you either got to go in the military or I'm going to put you in prison and you're going to be in there a while, just you're on a bad path. You're hanging out with the wrong people. And really took it to heart. So I was like, shit, I don't want to sit in prison. I already have friends in jail and prison and they weren't having no fun. And so I woke up the next day after really thinking about it, and I went to, I think they call it MEPS or something like that. Went and did my enrollment, took my test, like, what are you going to be the best at? This is the career that we want to see you in. The first thing they offered me was law enforcement. And I was like, dude, are you freaking serious? You know who I am?
Forced to go here.
You know what I've been doing?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like the guys that are criminals and they hire them to do,
yeah.
do,
And I was like, I
that kind
can't.
of work.
I thought it was some sick joke. Like,
That's
you're
funny.
giving this guy that's on the, I hadn't had no felonies at the time, but I was on the path to, like, you're going to give somebody like me a gun, call me a cop. Like, I thought it was a joke. And I was just like, yeah, okay, let's do it, thinking, this will never work out. And they'll probably make me. Yeah, I was, even at that age, I was into electronics. I was, side hustling, doing car stereos and home stereo installs. And I figured they'd throw me in something electrical down the road. And anyway, I go through basic training, and then they take me to law enforcement training. And I'm like, shit, I guess we're really going to do this,
So you're military police then, basically.
I was probably, honest to God's truth, I was probably one of the best cops there was, just because I
Because you thought like a criminal?
yeah, I mean, I had already been through it. I've already experienced it. Like, I could call you out in a minute, like, nah, you're a freaking liar.
Yeah. Takes one to know one.
You can't pull it by me. I know exactly what you're doing. So
That's funny.
So
Getting back. So Cannonball Chase. Why do you do it? What attract? I know you met Lonnie Jr., right? Tell us about that
So,
real quick.
I mean, like I said, I've always been into motorcycling. I really started getting into kind of vintage motorcycling, I'd been building custom choppers and baggers, and got interested with a guy, an old timer that I had met, and he had like a 36 or 37 knucklehead at the time. And he's like, man, you got to ride this thing. And I was like, the thing's a piece of shit. Leak all over my leg. And it was just dirty and cruddy. And anyway, I remember to get it started, it had a key switch, but the key switch didn't work. And I had to, like, put 2 wires together and twist them together. And kicking, I never kicked a bike since I was like 8 years old. I mean, I got to the point, like, I like those button bikes, like, push the button and it just starts, And anyway, I'm kicking on this thing, and he's just laughing at me because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, And anyway, so he finally mentored me, and I took off on this thing, and I was hooked afterwards. I was like, my God, this thing was freaking the funnest thing I've ever ridden, I mean, I'm used to, like I said, I'm building bikes that are going 100, 120 miles an hour, and, just bar hop into bar hop. And I finally started getting on these things, and I'm like, dude, I didn't really know any of this stuff was around me because I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
You're going 40, 50 miles an hour down the road, and I'm noticing stuff I've never noticed before. And you're smelling stuff, and the smell of the oil coming off and the gas, and, coming home and, everything's greasy and oily. I was like, man, I like this. And I just kind of got hooked ever since then. I had finally met Lonnie Isom Jr., who lived in Sturgis. He had owned the Cannonball. He started it in 2009, did the first ride in 2010. Being a motorcycle aficionado, I was watching it from afar, like, dude, this thing's cool, like, I got to get involved in this. Like I didn't have a bike that qualified. You know, at the time they were doing 100 years and older. And I'd met him. I'd been going over to the shop. He was a big into restoration, so he did a lot of restorations on old motorcycles, really rare stuff like pre-1915, even like pre-1910, you know, Camelback Indians, flying Merkles, you know, Cyclones, and just really rare stuff that, you know, I mean, you would never even see in a museum. He was building them almost from scratch out of his shop, or, you know, finding something that had been buried in the yard for years and years, and he was resurrecting this thing. So I was just kind of going over there and just having him being a mentor to me, you know, like, hey, you know, tell me what you're doing, you know, teach me some history on these things. And anyway, so we started hanging out quite a bit, and he decided, you know what, the first Cannonball, yeah, it was a pretty good success, you know, let me do the next one. So he announced the next one, that I think they were going from Newburgh, New York to Santa Monica, California, or something like that. Or no, they were going to San Francisco. And I was like, man, I got to get in this thing. And I applied, and I was like, I'll get in. You know, I'm buddies with Lonnie. I'll get in, whatever. Well, I didn't get in. And I was like, what the hell? And I didn't really have a bike that qualified at the time anyway. I mean, I had some friends that had some stuff that we could have put together.
How many bikes were they allowing in at that time?
Like 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
And I think they had 90 some on that race. It was pre-1920 motorcycles. And I was like, man, I got to get involved somehow. I mean, what can I do? And I begged Lonnie, like, let me in. He's like, well, you're like third on the waiting list. And I'm like, dude, come on now. You know, I'm over here helping you for free. And, you know, and anyway, I'd found a bike that qualified. And then I remember him calling me one day. I thought he was just calling a bullshit. And he's like, hey, you're up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up. I've been up for a few hours, you know. He's like, no, you're up for the Cannonball. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, dude, it's only like a month away. And he's like, I know, can you be ready? And I was like, and I was smart enough at the time to know, yeah, you know, there's no way I can put it together, one, financially, because it's a huge financial expense. You know, how am I going to take a month off of work when I got a bunch of people working for me? I'm in the middle of a bunch of contracts. Man, it just ain't going to happen. Part of the route was they were going to stop in Sturgis. And I said, well, let me just get involved. There's no way I can do the Cannonball. I said, let me get involved with you in Sturgis. I said, you know, we'll have everybody out to the campground. I'll feed them the best meal that they ever had, which we did. I smoked a pig. You know, I brought in buffalo. I just brought in all this kind of like traditional local stuff that, you know, some of these guys from overseas have probably never have.
Sure.
Even like the big city folks, like, dude, they didn't even know what buffalo is. You know, I've never had a pig looking at me while I'm pulling the meat off. And I just wanted to create a really cool experience. So I brought a live band in. I opened up the bar for free, and we just had all this great food. And, you know, it was one of the best stops that we've ever experienced on the Cannonball. So once I had them there, and I seen all this, and, you know, seeing what these guys were going through to stay on the road and do this and that, I was hooked. I was like, there ain't no way I'm never missing another one. And I after that event was over, I just begged Lonnie. I was like, hey, I seen him struggling a little bit from here to here, because he wasn't a promoter. He wasn't an events guy. He was just a normal dude that liked motorcycles, and he wanted to get a bunch of people together and go for a ride. And I was like, you need my help, you know, because I'm into doing events. I'm into this kind of stuff. Let me help you with the marketing. Let me help you with your merchandise. Like, let me just help you, because I know you need help. I see you struggling. I mean, I kind of seen the thing starting to go to the next level of where you can handle it. And he put me off for quite a while. And then 2014 comes around where we do the next Cannonball, which is for pre-1936 motorcycles. We're going from Daytona Beach, Florida to Tacoma, Washington. I got a bike for that. I had bought a 1930s VL. Got it all prepared, you know, spent months and months working on it with a group of people, and teamed up with a bunch of guys to eliminate some of the expenses. And the whole time I'm begging Lonnie, like, hey, let me help you. And finally in 2014, he's like, you know what, this thing is above my head. I mean, we're skyrocketing with people that want to do it. The media of stuff that wants to do is, I do need some help. So I partnered with him in 2014 and, competed in the event. He rode in the event with us on that one. Right after the event, he had found out that he had gotten cancer. And, the prognosis wasn't good. They were basically giving him kind of months to live. And I said, let me do this. I still want you part of the event. Let me, one, financially take you out of the event. Let me buy it off. So I got the company as a whole. And then, you just stay on with me and right. Be a part of it. Sure. I don't want to take it away from you. It's yours. Just let me help you out financially to get you through these times. And he ended up being with us a few more years. Good. And, I always made sure that he was part of the event and part of it. And, kind of the first test was in 2016. We decided to do something that really hadn't been done. We decided, hey, every motorcycle on this event's got to be 100 years old or older. So and we kind of dubbed it the race of the century. And we were going to do 100-year-old or older motorcycles, but then we were also going to do like 50 100-year-old older cars. Wow. And so we were going to team up with the Great Race, which is kind of like our event, but for cars. And, it just got to the point that, Lonnie was getting sicker and sicker, and I don't know shit about old cars. Right. And, those dudes were goofier than the motorcycle dudes and harder to work with. And I was like, we just got to a point and said, hey, let's cut the cars out. Let's just concentrate on what we know is the motorcycles. And we ended up getting a little over 100 people in 2016 to do 100-year-old and older motorcycles.
Awesome. I don't think people realize, like, you got to do hotels at every stop, right? You deal with cities so you can be hosted at place. I mean, it's like a moving show, right?
Right. Yeah. Basically, we kind of treat it as I tell a lot of people, oh, what is a cannonball? Well, I mean, one, we're an endurance race. We're a competition. It's basically a competition of man versus machine. It's you versus your motorcycle on the best 2-lane roads of America. Not trying to put a competition where it's man versus man, because that's already been done. I mean, that's every single race. But, we wanted to truly go after something that was you versus your machine versus the elements of God, and see, hey, can I take this 1916 motorcycle from Atlantic City all the way to San Diego? Can I do it?
Right. I remember I went once with Adam, our friend Adam Sandoval, and I wasn't riding. I was just a passenger, and I saw guys like literally walking up a hill because the engines didn't have enough power, the motors to get them up. I mean, broken down the side of the road, fixing bikes. It's crazy.
Well, same thing with this. I mean, it's like I could write a book on everything Motorcycle Cannonball or antique motorcycling just by the stuff that I've seen. Like you said, people rebuilding engines on the side of the road, cutting down limbs of trees to make parts to get in for the day, I mean, these guys get so focused and take the challenge to heart that, hey, I want to make every single mile of this trip. Right. I don't want to be on this travel trailer. I don't want to be on a truck. Let me do whatever I can to get this bike running, whether it's stealing parts off another bike or finding somebody that's got the parts that you can have, using the local people like welders or, mechanics just to keep going for the day. I mean, it's crazy what you see and experience.
But it's more bragging rights. We're not talking prize money. We're not talking, it's who can do it, who can complete it. And it's more of the self-gratification. Because the year that I went along, I was riding in the chase vehicle. And I had, honestly, I'm going to say now, I had as much fun as the guys on their bikes. Yeah. Just in the chase vehicle, hearing their stories, watching the guys fix it, meeting guys like Tom Banks who broke down. Then got to ride miles and miles with Tom in a van. Right. Hearing him talk about it and diagnosing his bike to know what he had to fix that night back at the hotel. Right. And work until 2 a.m. and he was back on the bike the next morning and putting down the miles.
Yeah. I mean, you really see it. It's like these guys just don't quit, Right. I mean, like you said, if they could have a catastrophic failure during the day and that night, as soon as we're done with like our hosted promotion at night, they're back in the hotel parking lot, taking everything apart, rebuilding it. I mean, I've seen these guys stay up till 6, 7 in the morning for a 7:30 start time. 30 minutes prior, they're finally got it done. No sleep, no nothing. hey, let me get on my motorcycle and ride, because that's really the reward is you riding your motorcycle on the best 2-lane roads of America.
How far is it? How far is the Cannonball distance wise?
Usually the Cannonballs averages around 4,000 miles per event.
Wow.
We try to do 240 to 260 miles a day average. I mean, there's days that we'll have 300, 310 miles. Just kind of depends on the terrain. What a lot of people don't realize is we don't do any major roads. We don't do any major cities. We're basically, like I said, putting you on the best 2-lane roads of America. The last event, we went from Virginia Beach, Virginia to Oceanside, California. It was like 4,100 miles or something like that. And we didn't hit our first interstate or first major road going across the country from east to west until we hit Lake Havasu, Arizona. I think we were already like 3,700 miles in. And we only had to get on the interstate for like 4 miles to get off on the next exit. And then we were back on 2-lane roads. I mean,
that's phenomenal.
And we're taking stuff that, I'm finding these roads that aren't even on Google half the time, just these like little cut across roads or little country roads, and just trying to do an experiment. And
I mean, the timing of that is massive. I mean, you're building these maps yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're driving these 4,000 mile plus.
Oh yeah. So like for each event, I mean, it all starts out with a piece of paper, like an idea, like, it's maybe we'll start in Virginia this time, and let's maybe go to San Francisco or Idaho or, somewhere else on the coast. And I mean, basically starts like that.
Did he say Idaho's on the coast?
Whatever.
Well, it should be. We should really get rid of California, and then it would be. Anyway, or maybe California will finally fall in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, then Arizona, we'd have some beachfront drive.
Yeah, there you go.
So we have Cannonball. What's this chase thing? Like, how did the chase come to be? Why'd you add another event?
Really, the event that I created off the Cannonball, called the Cross Country Chase, was really just an offshoot of the Cannonball, and I'd had an idea in my head that I wanted to do a ride that was not supported, basically. Like, I wanted it to truly be you and your motorcycle. And the idea came, one was, because I had, we were already doing the event, but the concept of it is, I've got a lot of friends in the antique motorcycle world, and, I see them just get on their bike and ride across the country, by themselves, just by themselves. They do, going from here to here. They're just kind of like antique motorcycle vagabonds, just, let me get on my bike. I'm going to ride to Daytona, and I'm going to ride here. And I realized, like, man, I'd really like to put an event together where, these people really got to just kind of do it on their own.
Yeah.
I want you to carry your own luggage. I want you to carry your own tools.
That doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me.
And I know there's a lot of people that do it, and they do it unsupported like that. But I kind of wanted to put it in an event form for the people that maybe wouldn't have a support network. They want to do it because they know that we have the support. If they do break down their day, at least I can get back to the hotel at night. There's something that can bail me out during the day, or there's other mechanics or other people that have parts that we can get this thing running, and I can get back on it. And it just kind of evolved. I was like, you know what? I really want to do something where you can't bring your girlfriend, you can't, have your wife, can't have your support crew that fixes your bike every night while you're inside the bar, having a good time, and these guys are out there all night. I said, I want to do something where basically it's you and your machine, and, if you don't get it fixed or you can't get it running, we leave you in that town, and, we keep the wheels going. So I really just put this concept together, the chase of, all right, let me do this kind of unsupported ride, no support crews. I want it to be intimate, where all the riders get to know each other. Because with the Cannonball, I mean, we're traveling with like 450 people, with all the staff, the riders, their support crews.
Right.
We're in 5 or 6 different hotels, big trucks and trailers. And this one, I just want to I want to all be in one hotel. I want to be all in one parking lot, all the bikes in one area.
Sure.
And everybody just kind of gets to know everybody. And so I kind of put this concept of the chase together. Not to mention that, the whole time we're doing the cannonball, I got these guys squeaking in my ear and complaining to me, you only letting pre-1930 bikes have all the fun. And, I got a 1940 knucklehead or a flathead or a panhead. I want to have some fun. And I started like, yeah, why shouldn't these guys have some fun, So
Sure.
let me create an event that fills the void of like, because cannonball's always been predominantly pre-1930 or older. And I said, let me put together something that's like 1930 to 1960, because after the 60s, motorcycles kind of get too modernized,
Sure.
They start getting into the push buttons and, the better electronics and gearing and, they just set them and forget them type thing. I
Sure.
want something that, these people still got to wrench on your stuff at night, still do something. So that's what kind of started the chase. And then it evolved from there. So it's like, the chase is, it's got 4 elements to the competition of it. It starts with navigation. One, I give you a map every day, so you have to navigate the course that I tell you without getting lost. And for the people that I haven't seen, these are just long scroll charts. Sometimes they'll be anywhere from 6 feet long to 30 feet long that you actually put in your map
turn,
device. And, and it's basically only turn by turns. I don't really give you any street addresses. A typical thing would be, all right, your starting point at mile 000 is in front of the hotel. When you leave the hotel, take a right, go 2.1 miles, take a left, go 31 miles and then take a right.
Sounds like a recipe for people getting lost.
Yeah, hugely. So if you don't got a good odometer and you ain't got a good sense of time or navigation or can read maps, I mean, we've had people end up like 200 miles off course before, they're like, go complete opposite. And, then we got to send out
This is a great route. I can't find the hotel though.
Yeah.
We've had to do, send out search parties. I mean, especially like the ride that we did in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
I kept everything secret. Like, I dubbed it Secrets of the Ozarks, and it was a chase ride, and I didn't tell. Usually a cannonball, what city we're going to be in at nighttime. Like, usually the lunch stop because we're having some kind of hosted promotion with the city or a museum or a dealership. And with the chase on this one, it was kind of in that COVID area. And, it wasn't necessarily easy to work with people in cities. And I was like, I'm going to just do something completely secret. I'm not going to let anybody know where we're going. I'm not even going to tell my staff. Like, I put this whole event together with only 3 of us knowing like what city we were going to be in every night.
That's
and,
crazy.
From the hotels to, I made everybody sign NDAs and like even my staff, I was like, I know these people will leak it. So my staff wouldn't even know. And the only way that they would know is that they had to rip an envelope open if they were in trouble and be like, okay, we're going to be in Hot Springs, Arkansas tonight. Or,
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy because so many people got lost, because I was not putting any street names. I wasn't putting any cities. But it was also fun at the same time because these people are showing up in the communities and they're like, I still have no clue where I'm at. I don't know if I'm in Arkansas or Missouri or Alabama, and it was kind of fun. And they got to learn about it, and then we didn't have the big crowd of people following us like we usually do. And to me, it was a lot of fun just to keep everything secret and see if people could figure out where we're going to be the next day. And that was always a question in the morning, like, we're in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Are we going to be in, in Oklahoma? Are we going to be in, Tennessee? Where are we going today?
Yeah.
Nobody knew, not even my staff,
Lots of
They were
crap.
all dependent on the map.
Right. How about crap? I know, like, obviously we all know Scott Jacobs. He had a little spill one year. Are accidents common or not common?
We every year we've had an accident.
Yeah.
There'd be a time that I'd like to not see an accident. A lot of it is kind of self-prone accident. Maybe they're overriding the road conditions. These things do break down. They seize up. That does happen to lead to an accident. A tire flies off. Just road conditions, hitting a pothole, something like that. It's, somebody getting, of course, road rage traffic.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that leads to accidents. And luckily, we've never lost anybody on the event, which is always good.
Yeah.
And, it's just, luckily everything's just been like 1 day hospital stay or something like that. So it's always been good in that.
So now what's the rotation? There's a rotation. When's the next Cannonball? When's the next chase?
So I do it every other year. So the Cannonball was always predominantly on even years, and then the chase would be on odd years. You know, COVID kind of messed that stuff up a little bit. So we kind of flip flop, but you know, in 1 September, I'll do a Cannonball, and then the next September you can expect to see a chase after that. So
Every other. So obviously we've talked about Chase, Cannonball, Glencoe, military, but we're not done. Now,
You mean to tell me the story of Jason
he's like a
continues?
Jamaican. He's got a million jobs. So what the hell got you involved in like buying and selling motorcycles? And I think you have a website you've recently purchased
I
as
do,
well.
yeah. So about a year ago, I purchased a company called Classic Motorcycle Consignments from a gentleman out of Southern California. He'd
What's the
been doing
website?
it for
What's the website, by the way?
classicmotorcycleconsignments.com.
Okay, that makes sense.
He'd been operating it for 20 some years, and you know, he had known me because I was already kind of a mover and shaker in the antique world. Like, you know, I'm buying, and I was buying,
And not selling,
and not selling,
Sound
selling. And you know,
hard to
I just was kind of amassing a collection, and I was moving in the right people. I had the contacts because of the Cannonball and the Chase, and you know, Sturgis, and you know, being involved with different museums. And he's like, you know what, you need to be the next caretaker in my business. And I was like, dude, I don't need another job. You know, I hear that's my favorite thing. I don't need another job. I don't need another job.
I'm gonna get a shirt made up. I don't know. Yeah. With your face on it.
And
But ask me twice and I'll just take it.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
maybe. Yeah,
Twist my
maybe.
arm.
I do get sucked into like that a lot. So 25 jobs and none of them pay.
That's a job?
Like I said, my payment comes in making you happy
That's
and
right.
creating
You do a good job
experiences.
of that.
And that's the way, I mean, with the Cannonball and Chase, it's always been like, I haven't taken a paycheck from that in over 10 years. You know?
Sure.
But seeing the people's face, their experiences, and them crying on your shoulder,
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing like that.
Sure.
But with the consignment stuff and the buying and selling and brokering of motorcycles and parts, I'd gotten to a point with my own personal collection and what I was doing personally. I was getting a little scared. I was like, how am I going to explain this money going in as cash and me pulling this much cash out?
You mean to your wife or the IRS?
Well, both. And I was like, you know what? I need to go legit. I think I got to figure out a way to, you know, because it looked like I was probably a damn drug dealer or, you know, things that, and people are like, oh man, you never work. You know, what are you doing? Dealing drugs? And, you know, I was like, I got to go legit. So anyway, I started putting together my own little company, and this guy's in my ear squawking, you need to be the next caretaker. You need to this. And I'm looking at him stuff, and, you know, he's older, and I'm like, I don't need to buy your business. I mean, I'm just going to put you out of business. You know, I got the technology. I can put the websites together. I've got the contacts. I got more than you, even though you've been in business for 20 years. And so I'm just going to put you out of business. And anyway, he squawked a little longer for about another year or so. And I'm trying to build my brokerage business. And he finally came at me and said, hey, you know, I could see you're probably going to put me out of business. Like, so then he made me a deal that was too good to refuse. And, you know, it was good because, one, he stayed on board with me to help me and work, because I wasn't expecting this to be a full-time job. I was like, I'm just going to set this up. And, you know, if I get a call, you know, it's only better for me because I'm now going to have first chance at this collection rather than anybody else,
Right,
you know. And he had a very searchable website with SEO and all that, and always ranked #1. I was like, let me take this down. And I mean, as soon as I turned the lights on and I merged the two companies, I mean, it went from being, you know, thinking, I get a call a month or every other month to like, holy crap, man, this thing turned into a full-time job, you know, just the amount of phone calls. And, you know, with me, I like to talk old motorcycles, and I like to learn the history of people. So, and I'm on the phone 10, 12 hours a day, just bullshitting half the time anymore. You know, like, yeah, I'm not even interested in the motorcycle. You said, tell me more about your story. And, you know, how'd you get these parts? How'd you get this bike? Like, I'm more interested in the history than trying to make a deal, you know? And
Sounds like in your own show.
well, so it just, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I like the history. I like the thing. And, you know, now I'm legit. Now I have a full-time job, you know, got to get employees for this one now. And, you know, it's just, I'm running across the country, you know, from the East Coast to the West Coast. I'm actually chasing stuff in Europe and Norway and Germany and Australia and, you know, just trying to make deals all over the place and just chasing the stuff. And, you know, in the meantime, I've kind of learned that I don't necessarily need to buy everything like I was. I can actually, you know, broker a deal with you, you know, by putting good bikes with good people, and I don't necessarily have to own them every time, you know. But I feel like I still kind of have an ownership in it because I get attached to it to try to move it to a good home.
So it's parts and motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the guy, he was only doing motorcycles, and he was never buying anything. Like, oh, I never buy a bike or I never buy a part. And you know, sometimes people need options when you're doing this. You know, I mean, especially in today's age, a lot of kids ain't getting involved. You know, it's moving down through generations, and they're not getting involved. And those people just want to be done with it because some of these collections are massive, and they're like, I don't really give a shit about it. You know, what do you offer me? And, you know, that's where I came in. It's like, I guess I can give you an option. One, I can buy the collection from you, or I can, you know, buy part of it and then consign part of it to get you the most money. And, you know, to me, it's being transparent with these people. It's, you know, this is what's going to happen. This is what should happen. This is what I'll offer you. This is what it's worth. You know, you got to know that I got to make money if we're going to do this. If we're going to consign it, I'm going to try to get you the most money in your pocket. And, you know, and that's just the way I've been running, is just being transparent with people. And
So you get calls from like someone saying my husband died, or kids saying we got all this shit, we don't know what to do with it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just even this weekend, I was talking to you the other day, like,
right.
hey, I got this call. You know, this lady called me. The husband's funeral's not even for like 10 more days, but she's like, I got to get rid of it. You know, I mean, I've been begging this dude for years to sell this stuff, or at least tell me what it's worth.
His body's not even cold yet.
I know,
Good
right?
night.
She wants to cash in.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I've been begging him for years, and I think she's kind of half smart, knowing that, you know, people are finding out that this guy is dead, you know, and people are going to come start bugging her. So
yeah,
and you know, and that's what I don't want. I mean, I don't want people to show up on our doorstep and offer 5 or 10 cents on a dollar. You know, I mean, I believe it a lot in karma. And, you know, when I'm making deals with people, I'm not trying to screw them. I'm not trying to buy it for as cheap as I can. I want to make a good offer where they're happy and where I'm happy, where I can make some money. I mean, I don't want, you know, people showing up if something were to happen to me, if I'm in the hospital, or if I, you know, end up dead or something, you know, and coming to my wife and being like, oh, hey, this is my bike, or this, or will you sell it for that? And, you know, I went legit with my wife a few years ago, and it created a lot of problems. You know, I'd gotten sick, and I really thought, like, you know what, my wife does not know shit. Like, she has no clue. And
I know his wife. We haven't got to that yet.
And I was like, she has no clue.
Of what now? Are we talking size of your collection, investment? I mean, she had no clue in what manner.
All the above. All the above. Like, you know, this was in 2020. You know, COVID was happening during a rally. I ended up getting COVID during a rally of 2020.
Yeah, sick bad.
Was very, very sick. I mean, it was to the point that, you know, you need to go to the hospital or you're going to die in home. And I was like, well, I'm going to rather die on the campground than I would in the hospital, because everybody I'd seen going to the hospital at the time, they weren't coming out.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, I mean, my blood oxygen was low. I mean, I could barely move. I couldn't function. And I you know, I was seeing visions, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm dying. You know, nobody on the campground. I'm there alone. And I got like one office manager because all the rest of the help had left. And, you know, I couldn't really rely on her to take care of me. You know, she brought me some stuff, whatever. But, you know, I was basically there alone, and I'm seeing visions, and I'm, you know, talking to God daily. And I was like, you know what? My wife does not know shit. You know, she thinks she knows, but she doesn't really know. So I remember like putting to like I wouldn't say like a last rites and testament, but it was like, I'm coming clean. Like, and I said, you remember such and such bike that I told you was Sean's, and I'm just storing for him.
Oh, so you were telling stories all the whole way through.
Oh, dude, for like 10 or 15 years during a whole relationship. It was like, you know, because I was buying, I was buying all kinds of stuff. And
Sean was your scapegoat.
You remember this? Yeah. Well, that's really mine. Like, I've got a bike in West Virginia right now. I've got one in Colorado. You know, I've got a truck in Minnesota.
Oh, she must have been fuming.
Like I had stuff all over the country, you know, and none of it was in my name. It was like, one, I didn't want to pay to put it in my name. I didn't want to pay the tax, title, and license. And, you know, I finally came legit. Like, I remember, I told you this is 1,000. Well, it's really worth 10,000. Or,
was that were you doing that so that if you died, she could go get all the stuff and cash in on everything, basically?
Exactly. Yeah. I kept thinking, like, dude, something kind of happened to me, and I know, and I know, even some of my good buddies. It's like, I know something happens to me, even though they're my good buddy. I could see them being like, "Oh, this is mine. That's mine.
I'm here to pick it up for Jason."
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, he was holding it for me, or
yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's not fair to my family.
Right.
So I actually
made a list.
Made a spreadsheet of what I could remember at the time, and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming clean. This is stuff I've done. I have a bank account here. I got a bank account here. Like, I own this motorcycle, this one, this car, and I when I finally did get better, she was pissed. I mean, she was
lucky she didn't divorce you.
Oh, it was close. I mean, I think she felt bad for me because I was going to die, and she didn't want to divorce me because now she knows exactly what I got, right? Like, I
know his wife, by the way, and she's like my wife. You don't want to go south with her. She's very strong-willed. I remember a story where I had met her. We were at the Mecum auction years ago, and I said, "Oh, nice to meet you." She's like, "You've met me 3 times," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And
No. I like the better story.
What's that?
The 3 of us, including Sean, so the 4 of us were actually sitting at Glencoe.
Yeah.
And she walks in and brings him a drink.
Yeah.
And you asked her for a drink thinking she was a
That's
bartender.
Right. I remember that.
And she was like, "Who do you think you are?"
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like, she and I get along great, and I love her to death. And I apologize. I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but man, you don't want to go." I mean, that look, my wife's that way. They give you that look, they can just burn right through you with the eyes. And so, yeah, our wives are very similar in that way. Don't mess with them.
I think it's funny that you had all this stuff hidden. You have a guilty conscience. Most guys are like, "Yeah, I've got $1,000 hidden in my mattress, and I got an extra gun, and maybe one bike.
He's got like $1 million in motorcycles across the country."
Yeah, none of it's in his name. No paperwork on any of it.
I learned it's better to be honest. Some people say you better ask forgiveness. I learned a lot the hard way a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've obviously helped me curate a bunch of bikes, of late. 5, I think we're up to 5 now. And then all these things, which we'll talk about shortly, these deckers. And I tell my wife, I tell her everything now. And I'd rather tell her up front and just deal. And she's pretty good about it now. The key is you got to buy your wife shit too.
Oh, yeah.
And then things kind of equal out.
That's where he wasn't. She penciled out the numbers.
I did. So get this.
Yeah.
And she caught on very, very quick. Like, "Oh, honey, I bought this car for you." And "Oh, no, you didn't, blah, blah, blah. That's just for you." Well, she got freaking smart on me. Like, she caught on quick. So if I'd come home and be like, "Oh, I bought you this motorcycle, or I bought you this car for you. I thought you'd really like it." She'd make her give me the title, and then she would put her name on the title. So she's got like a dozen things in her that she is now titled in her own name, like,
yeah.
Oh man, that kind of backfired on
She's
me.
like, "I hate cutlasses, but my name's on the title."
Time with your wife, like, she obviously plays a big role also. Like, she deals with the back end of, like,
Right.
she's a big time player in this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we just out of the events. I mean, we've started our own travel agency just to deal with the hotels and the cities and the travel arrangements, the plane tickets. So I mean, she runs the travel agency all by herself, and of course, she's very good at administrative stuff. So she's doing all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, really keeping stuff organized and you know, because me, I just
Yeah, you're like me.
let's
You
go
just throw
party.
shit everywhere.
Yeah, let's go. You know, I'm the guy. You know, I'm the one that wants to, you know, shake hands and kiss babies and whatever.
But she's the backbone, right?
Yeah, she's
you need
definitely
it.
the backbone.
You
It's
definitely
amazing.
need it. Yeah, she's a good wife. So.
And I try to stay honest with her now. You know? It's hard. It's like, oh man, I told her I wouldn't go to Mecum and buy this motorcycle. I told her I wouldn't buy nothing, but it's like,
You were pretty good though. At this, you didn't buy much at Mecum,
yeah,
you were
but
pretty
damn, Mecum, man,
I
they
know.
busted me. It's just like, I told her I wasn't gonna buy nothing, and like within like 24 hours, I buy my first thing. And I was like, well, I got time to tell her, you know. I mean,
Just tell her
wait.
you're buying it from
I'll
me.
wait till
Yeah.
the right time.
Yeah.
Dang, Mecum, they send you emails now after every time you buy something. It's like, here's your purchase.
Yeah.
Thank you for your purchase. And I'm like, oh man,
Just tell her
because she
it's for other
monitors one of my emails
Yeah.
that they all go to.
Just
And
tell
I'm
us for
like,
customers like me. You're
Wait,
buying
wait,
it.
wait, wait.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just got done saying it's best to be honest and
Yeah,
upfront.
well, I know, I
Tell him
know.
it's for a client. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
We're
yeah.
storing it for him. He's right back to square one. He's digging another hole.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't. But I love to buy.
Yeah.
Hey there, this podcast is brought to you by the Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. Just want to let you know that Law Tigers is by your side. If you're ever in a motorcycle accident and you're injured, the Law Tigers is there for you. We have lawyers throughout the entire country that are riders and enthusiasts ready to help you in your time of need. We obviously don't want to see anyone get hurt, but when you do, Law Tigers is there for you. Don't forget, this is the Law Tigers podcast studio, and we're proud to support this podcast, and we hope you never need us. If you do, call us at 1-800-LAW-TIGERS.
You were talking earlier about how you like to buy shit. Do you get like a rush when you I don't do drugs. My rush is like you and I together are dangerous.
Oh,
like,
I know.
What is
I
it?
know.
What
Oh,
is
you
it
want to go to
about?
Barrett Jackson? We're bidding on stuff that we ain't even looked at, you know.
I
It's just
know.
that rush. No, and it's been like that for me for a long time. In my whole buying career, I've always been like that in collecting career. One, it's the hunt and
Right.
finding the thing, which I get more of a kind of a rush out of maybe even buying it, you know,
Sure.
but then the art of making a deal and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's just the whole entire thing. And then once you get it, it's like,
What's
let's move on to the
next?
next. Let's move on to the next
It's like
thing.
drugs.
You know?
You always want. It's always the next thing. You know.
So you talk about the hunt. What's on your hunt? What's on your list? Like, what's your great white shark? What's the or the Moby Dick? What's the Moby
Yeah,
Dick
that's right.
that you're searching for?
The
Me,
one that got away.
Yeah.
I've been pretty, like I said, I mean, with the consignment business now, I don't necessarily need to buy everything. To me, it was like, let me buy it, let me see if I can make a dollar, you know, but for the longest time, I would never sell anything, you know,
Right.
and just till a few years did I actually start, you know, selling some of my personal stuff. And to me, I'm trying to stay pretty disciplined on my personal collection right now of like what I want to buy just to keep. You know, I'm buying stuff to flip or whatever. I call it recycling. Like, let me buy this thing, you know, let me put my touch on it, get it running, riding, you know, put a little doohickeys on it here and there, put my little touch, and then, you know, I call it recycling. Like, let me sell this one to recycle that cash into the next cool thing,
Sure.
you know. So I'm doing a lot of that right now. Just temporary, call it temporary ownership, foster care. And
I like. I'm not into foster care. I want to adopt. I want it.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, sometimes the foster care does turn into adoption
Adoption.
because they like, oh, I can't get rid of this thing now. Like, and come back to me. Oh, I thought you said you were buying that to sell. Like, sell it so we can get some money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
giving me anxiety, heart palpitations.
Yeah.
You know, but no, really. I mean, so I'm staying a little disciplined on my forever stuff. You know, one, I ain't got the room like I used to store it all, and you know, and I'm at a point I want everything running and riding.
Sure.
You know, I don't want it to be a coffee table anymore. I want it to be, you know, something I can jump on, or somebody comes over, one of my buddies can jump on,
Sure.
and so.
What's the
that's
Grail
a-
bike? Like, if you had no money's no issue, you know, what would be the bike you would own? You would buy and own.
I mean,
you know?
the Holy Grail bike's obviously the Crocker.
Of
You know,
course,
I'd
it's
love to have a
behind us,
Crocker. You know,
Yeah.
will I ever get one? I guess if I win the lottery.
But you've been able to at least be a steward of one, like the one that you
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I've actually brokered 3 or 4 Crockers now
Yeah.
over the last few years. So
One just broke a record, right, at Mecum? About
yeah,
800
just
something thousand?
880,000 for a public.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Crockers trade for over $1 million privately.
Oh, have you? Okay.
And I mean, just this last Mecum did the first motorcycle publicly hit up over $1 million with
Yeah,
the
million
Cyclone.
two, right?
Yeah,
million two
with
on a
the
Cyclone. Rick
first,
bought that, right?
Yeah, first
Rick
time
bought
that
Do
motorcycles
you know that?
been over $1 million in a public setting. I mean, I've been involved with a few bikes that have been $1 million plus privately, but it's just stuff that's never talked about.
Yeah. How is the industry overall? Like the on the classic bike, are things expensive now? Is it healthy? Is it weak? Does it depend on the brand? I know that Triumphs are going for shit right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really just kind of depends on it. I mean, it seems like British and English stuff has really taken a hit over the last couple of years. Harley Davidson panheads have taken a huge hit over the last few years. Knuckleheads, of course, the stuff that I'm chasing, for myself personally, I'm after, me personally now, I'm looking for a 4-cylinder, like a 4-cylinder Ace, Indian Ace, Indian, Henderson. I'm looking for the big boy toy right now of adding another 4-cylinder.
And they're 6-figure bikes usually, aren't they? The 4 cylinders,
yeah. And that's a market that's just not soft right now. And unfortunately, they just keep getting more and more expensive every single day, and I mean, just to even find stuff. And, I've owned a few, and I've now regretted ever selling them just because, I mean, and the only reason I sold them is because they were so expensive. It was like, I got this bike, I paid X amount of dollars for it, now I got to put $50,000 into it to rebuild the motor, or
that's nuts.
$60,000 to rebuild the motor, like
right. Well, it's hard to time it too. You don't know what the market's gonna bear out, right, in the future.
And it's like, man, I just can't. It's just something I can't justify. So, me, I'm chasing stuff now that's already been rebuilt. It's running, riding, ready to go. For one, I just ain't got the time or the skill set to build a 4-cylinder. So
yeah, the knuckles were going for pretty good price, right? They were a little soft. The knuckles.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago was a big knuckle craze. I mean, they were you couldn't find a knuckle no matter what year for under 100,000. Now that I think they're kind of coming back into check.
Yeah, 45, 50 grand.
45, to $100,000, depending on year and how nice it is. So.
Sure.
So you're talking about values like that. A guy like me, I don't have vintage, love them. Where does a guy get started? I mean, you had to get your start at some point.
I got a BSA for sale by the way out in the garage. If you want to buy a 50, what is a 59 Golden Flash?
I think, I mean, if a person wants to get into vintage, I think the best thing to do is try to find a mentor that's into vintage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I started buying vintage, I had some mentorship, but I wasn't being steered in the right direction. It was like, I got taken advantage quite a bit into my earlier, like, oh yeah, that's a nice bike. Well, it really isn't. It was probably made out of swap meet parts. It doesn't run this and that. And, I was just kind of really buying junk at first, non-running stuff. And until I actually got, some friends and some mentorship that did it ever really start clicking onto me now. And, and that's what I'm trying to now do for other people. Like, with the consignment business, even with me personally, with the Cannonball, everybody's always looking, hey, where can I get a Cannonball bike, or what will work for this? And, my goal is to now educate and try to steer people in the right direction of getting a vintage motorcycle or an antique motorcycle. And, one, what is your skill set? Can you do some of the work yourself? So on and so forth. So
yeah, Jason's been very helpful for me because I don't know that much about him, and I don't want to get burned on.
Yeah.
Because I look at him more for like artwork. I don't ride the older bikes. I ride the more contemporary bikes. But I've kind of started, in that lower, like 20, which is still a big investment, $25,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten to that next level yet.
We're gonna get there soon.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's bad.
It's
like,
fun spending other people's money.
Yeah,
I love
He'll
it.
send me pictures of stuff, and my wife's like, another one. I'm like, they're for the business. They're for the business, honey. One of these days, the business will buy them for me. But
the problem is, when you get your buddies, it's like you haven't spent any money, but I'm and I'm not making anything off.
Yeah,
of it.
he's taking
It's
good
like,
care of me. Yeah,
I try to take care of some people
Yeah.
on that, and one, it's just the education, and I want to see the hobby thrive and grow, and you know, because motorcycling as a whole, as we all know, is been kind of dwindling over the last 4 or 5 years, and you know, especially in the antique world. And you know, I do a lot with you know, younger riders, and you know, trying to get that 20 to 30-year-old interested in just motorcycling, but then you know, the antique motorcycling part of it too. So you know, I'm on the backside, you know, helping those guys. You know, if a guy like you says, "Hey, I see you got a 1933 on your website," you know, and somebody that calls me that's 20 years old, I'm rather give the 20-year-old a deal than, you know, somebody that, you know, is more well off or than that. So just to try to get him in the hobby. Because
You're getting pushed aside.
It's like, you know, I mean, it's gotten so expensive, you know, and it's like, really to bring people into, you got to make it affordable for them. So
so are they readily available, these antique vintage bikes? I mean, I see the ones
they are depending on what you're. I mean, like the stuff I'm looking for, the 4-cylinders, man, nobody's nobody's giving them up,
right?
You know,
but you want to start with like Jason. My first bike I got through Jason was WLA, you know, which they made hundreds of thousands of, right?
Of them,
So you can get that. You can get a decent WLA. What do they sell for at auction? 25.
Yeah, 20,
25, and that's what I paid. And they're bitchin' bikes, and they're somewhat bulletproof.
I just know a lot of guys see these vintage bikes like, oh my gosh, where did you find it? And I think the education factor is not there. So you talk about mentorship, I can see the importance of it, because a lot of guys will see that bike and go, oh, there's 12 of them ever made. And it's like, no, they were mass produced, stamped out.
Yeah, exactly.
What I like about it is, you know, we've got newer bikes, and they're great for riding, but you know, I'm at age now where, you know, I collect stuff, and to me, if you can get something that's a piece of history, especially Americana, like the old Indians and Harleys, which is kind of what I've gravitated towards. I'd love a Crocker, but it's out of my budget. But at the end of the day, you know, you get something cool. It's like a piece of art, right? And it's something that you can, you know, share stories with other people about, and it's an investment. Am I going to make a ton of money off it? Probably not, but it's somewhere you can put your money other than just putting it in a bank, you know? And that's why I love these things that Jason's helped me acquire, these Jeff Decker bronze. I know you know Jeff, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he's an amazing artist, a Harley artist, and that's been my latest kind of interest, is trying to acquire these bronze pieces like we have on the table. These two back here. There's one that is on the floor that eventually will be on a table, but to me, these are just amazing pieces of artwork.
And they're hard to get.
And they're hard to get, right? And so
it's like good motorcycles, you know, a good piece of artwork, people don't want to give up with it, you know? I mean, really, the only way you're going to get it is somebody dies.
Right.
You know?
I mean, God knows we've tried reaching out to him multiple times. And, Jason was telling me a story, you know, Jeff was like there at the show with some stuff that he was selling, and Jason said to him, you know, the guy's been trying to reach out to you, so the only alternative is to buy from somebody else. And they're just incredible pieces. So Jason's been able to connect us with them. Talking about this stuff, I know that there was a gentleman that was very influential in the motorcycle community, Urban. You know, I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him, but I knew of him.
Right.
And you know, his collection, I think, just sold for over $9 million. He passed away, right? I think it was over $9 million. But did you get anything from him?
I ended up getting some of his signs, a couple of his books, some of the memorabilia part. I did chase a few of the bikes. Unfortunately, I mean, the stuff I liked was what other people liked too, you know, and I mean, some of his stuff did go for a pretty reasonable price. You know, unfortunately, the stuff I was chasing is, you know, what everybody else wanted. So I was, and this was one of the first years ever I went to Mecum and never bought anything, you know. Motorcycle-wise, I did buy enough memorabilia and signs and stuff like that to fulfill my itch. But
actually, didn't you? One of the things you got for me was his collection, right? The card holder with the
we
wings.
Ended up getting these ashtrays. Yeah, we got a smoking deal.
Yeah.
So I bought these like first two ashtray business car holders, whatever, you know. And
I have them in there. Yeah, they're badass.
And you know, I kind of felt like stolen, like nobody was bidding on them. I was like, oh, maybe I bid too much, you know. And
no.
So I got the first two for like super cheap, and then the next one, you know, sells for like $12,000.
That's crazy. Just a little difference on it. That was it. That's the funny thing, right? One little difference, and it changes the value. You think Mecum is good for the industry, the Mecum auction?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything that kind of promotes motorcycling or a place to find it. And, they provide an outlet. I think this was maybe the 20th year in a row that I've gone. I haven't missed one, like Sturgis. It's just one of those things that I go and a lot of times I might not be going to buy something. It's one of the biggest rotating museums there are, it's like every year it's a museum of bikes and it changes every single year. So, I mean, it's the only place I've seen a lot of one-on-one bikes, or there's a handful of these, and, to me that's good. And then of course the networking,
People come together, right? Yeah.
It's one of my favorite events to go to just because, nobody's really on an agenda,
Right.
Like if I go to a swap meet or I go to this show, like I'm working a booth, so I'm stuck at that booth. They're working a booth, they're stuck at that booth. We're here, nobody's working. You're just hanging out at night. And,
It's a long day, right? You're like 15-hour days, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you told
By
me
the
you're
time you get up
exhausted.
at get going at 7, and then by the time you leave the lounge at night, just bullshitting and having stories and talking about the past and motorcycles, and it's 2-3 in the morning, and then then you start all over again. And
Yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
interesting.
it's one of my favorite events. I love the thing, and one, just the networking and getting
Right.
to hang out with your buddies when you're not on an agenda such as
Right.
working or tied to your swap meet booth or something like that. So
It-
you
it
just get to
attra-
know people better.
It
that way.
attracts, yeah. Like I remember when I was there a couple years ago, the guys that put on Born Free, they go. They're big
Mhm.
bike.
Yeah.
You get young, old. You get event promoters. You get
Right.
all kind of people, business owners, because the commonality is a
But
love
just
of old
brings so
bikes.
many genres together, because there's so many genres of motorcycles. I mean, everything from German, English, British, Japanese, to American, anything from like the 1900 to brand new big wheel baggers with audio,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
they get anything and everything there. So you get the whole walk of life there.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. I was watching it on the airplane. I paid for Wi-Fi so I could actually watch it to see what everything went for. And my wife was like, "What are you doing?" We were going to Florida for the Tri-Lawyer Convention, and I'm like, "I'm looking at prices," and it was cool just to see everything go. And I'm texting Jason, try to bid on this, try to bid on that. Of course we didn't get
And
the
delayed,
bikes.
it's like,
Yeah.
bid on it. And it's like, oh shit, that price already passed. So like you were trying to
Yeah, I
bid
was
on something
delayed.
like
Yeah, I was
50
delayed.
grand,
Yeah,
50 grand, but it was
yeah,
actually 80
yeah,
grand.
yeah.
He's like, hit it.
Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
We
it
were
was
like-
fun though. It was cool. It was cool to watch that, and of course, like I said, with Rick buying that bike,
Yeah.
that broke records, which is
That
pretty,
was cool to
pretty-
see. Yeah, I mean,
pretty
just
cool.
to see stuff. I mean, Crocker brought big money. There was a few other bikes. One of the bikes I took made the top 10 this year, which was kind of exciting. We kind of set a record price on. I took a 1929 Indian 4-cylinder there, just been restored, and I took it there on behalf of a client, and
What'd that sell for?
we were looking at getting a certain amount, and we ended up making $50,000 or $60,000 more than what we would have sold the bike for.
What'd the bike
So
go for?
179.
Wow, that's amazing.
And before that, I mean, this particular 1929 Indian 4, ever at auction, the highest one it ever gone for, I think, was like 130, 135 with the juice.
Really?
Wow,
so,
so there's a big,
I mean,
big
we
demand.
surpassed that by quite a bit.
Interesting.
So
That's
it was fun.
talking about customers and clients. You have a pretty famous one in Jason Momoa. Tell us about that relation. How'd you get to know him, and what have you bought for him, or helped him buy or acquire? over the years?
Yeah, I've had a pretty good relationship with him. He actually just one day out of the blue messaged me on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, who the hell is this?" And, I don't watch a bunch of TV. I mean, I knew who he was, and I'd heard of it,
Aquaman.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this dude? And I've bought and sold for a lot of different celebrities, and know a lot of famous people from the campground in Sturgis, and ran in a bunch of different circles, and I was just like, what's he messaging me for? I kind of just,
Blew him off.
I was like, oh, hey, bro. Well, what's every scammer say? Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, so I was like, I just kind of blew it off. Like, probably some scammer messaging me on Instagram or whatever, trying to get me to buy him dinner, or, go to CVS and get him a gift card or something like that. I'm like, dude. Anyway, he just kept blowing me up, and I finally answered it. And he's like, bro, send me your number. And he was at, I think he was at Teach's house.
Hmm.
Kevin Bass, he was at his house, and Kevin was talking me up like, oh, you got to meet this guy, and he's got a collection of bikes, and you guys would hit it off good. Anyways, at Kevin's house, they were doing some commercial stuff for Harley Davidson at the time, and he's like, hey, I'm running across the country. I want to come meet you and see your collection. And anyway, he came in and stopped in and, took my stuff. We hit it off, and, he's only supposed to be there a day or a few hours. And he ended up staying like 2 or 3 days. And, we just had a good time and got to know each other. We ended up buying some bikes out of my personal collection, a bunch of my parts, and just kind of kept in touch. And then I'd go out to California when they were working on more Harley commercials and get to play in those a little bit and go out and see how it was all done. And, we just kind of kept a relationship over the years. So we were just chatting yesterday, matter of fact, about a very, very rare bike that came up. It's one that's I've been chasing for about 10 years. And of course, it always works this way that, something that you've been chasing for a long time finally comes up for sale. And I'm like, damn, I'm dead broke right now. Like, I can't afford this thing.
You got a guy with deep pockets like that talking about it.
I'm
Go
like,
ahead and pull your mic up a little bit.
Yeah, let's fix
and
his
I'm
mic.
like,
I want to get it above his shoulder. He'll fix it.
he,
Yeah, let's fix
so
it real quick.
I'm contacting some big money people like, hey, if I don't get it, like, one of us has to come up with this thing. Like, let's keep this thing in the family. I don't want to see this going to somebody that doesn't know anything or have it. And he's like, bro, I'm in the same situation. I've been buying so much stuff lately. I can't, And anyway, so still chasing a bike. It's still rare. I'm like trying to keep it on a down low, telling this guy, do not put it on Facebook. Do not put it on Instagram.
Right.
Give me a little bit of time and we'll get this thing done,
Yeah.
I think it's cool to hear that the hype around Jason and motorcycles is legit.
It is, yeah. It's nice to actually see somebody, that's in the public eye be so passionate about the stuff and bring light. I mean, especially to the old stuff, because he's, he's chasing the same stuff I am and the low stuff. And I mean, it's good and it's bad because he's kind of become the American pickers of motorcycle. Like, I'm chasing something and, it's like, I'm calling on it. I'm chasing it. And they're like, oh, Jason's already got it. And I'm like, oh, dang it.
He's got some deep pockets.
Oh, man. It's not even that. It's just, he's become the American picker. Like, oh, offer it to Jason before you offer it to the other Jason. And
the war of
it's
Jasons.
like, dude, it's like the war of Jasons right
That'd
now.
be a
Like,
good show, actually.
we both like the same exact stuff,
Yeah.
like the same patinas and the originalities. And
Well, and how many people out there are like, Jason Momoa wants to buy this motorcycle?
Yeah, of course he's famous.
To heck with this other guy. I want to meet him.
yeah. Well, and there's a lot of that. It's like, man, chasing the same thing. And, people are sending the leads to him rather than sending, just
Well,
like the American pickers. Oh, call the American pickers. They'll buy it. You know?
Right,
It's
right.
like,
Well, I think people probably also look at that limelight going, he's got deep pockets.
Yeah,
Right.
He's
Let's
willing to
pay
pay top
more,
dollar.
right.
Where this other
Yeah.
guy, maybe maybe nickel and dime me or beat me down a little bit or,
Right.
But he has his limits too, right? I mean, just because he's
absolutely.
wealthy and a celebrity, a movie star doesn't mean he pays whatever someone asks, right?
Right.
I would think he's sophisticated enough to know, not to overpay for something, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think early on in his collecting career, people were kind of leading him astray a little bit. And,
Sure.
It's one of those things. And it's like every one of my clients say, I mean, even if you're not buying a bike from me, send me the pictures. Let me tell you if it's really
Right.
worth that or not,
You
I
can
don't want to
burn
see
it.
anybody get taken advantage of,
Right.
So, I even sitting here, I've gotten 6 text messages like, what about this? What about this? Can you tell me the value of this? And,
Right.
It's education,
Right.
I mean, just like everything.
What affects the value of these older bikes? Like, what's the variable? I have a bike that goes for 300,000. A bike that looks the same goes for half that. What are the variables that affect the value?
One, I think the biggest thing is the originality. How original is this bike compared to this bike? Even if they're the same bike side by side, does this one have more real parts than this one? Is this one got history on it? So on and so forth, I mean, I like to buy bikes that have history or a story behind them, some lineage, you know, anybody can just go to the auction and you don't really know what you're buying there half the time. And, you know, you buy something on eBay or, you know, you just don't really know the lineage. And,
Right.
you know, I like stuff, you know, that got a lot of history in it. Like I liked buying one owner, one family stuff. It just tells a story, and I'm not a restorer, so I don't get a bike to restore it.
Right.
If it's got a scratch in it, if it's got a dent in it, the fender got bolted in or the handlebars bent, you know, to me, it's like, I think when I'm riding that bike, how did that happen? Like, how did this scratch get in that bike? Did it fall over? You know, was he chasing some dude? You know, was he running from the cops? Like, I always try to figure, like, what's the real story behind, like, how did it get this damage? What was it doing? And stuff like that. And then I like to buy stuff that's, you know, maybe some famous people owned. And one of my favorite bikes right now is I have a 1925 Harley Davidson, and it was a Bud Eakins bike. And if you don't know Bud Eakins was a famous Harley dealer in California, but he was also best friends with Steve McQueen.
Mhm.
You know, he did all of Steve McQueen's stunt riding and all the movies and the shows, and huge collector. And one of my favorite bikes came out of his collection, the 1925 Harley. And it was also painted by Von Dutch, which Von Dutch worked for
Right.
Bud Eakins. And, you know, he was the painter for Eakins, and his shop, his pinstriping shop, was in one of Bud's stores. So, one of the things, I love that bike. It's got a great story. It looks cool. It, you know, I love riding the thing, and people are like, "Oh, you're crazy to ride this thing. It's, you know, it's irreplaceable." And it's like, yeah, but it's, you know, I like it. It makes me happy.
Right.
I mean, I've been offered a stupid amount of money for this bike. I mean, probably triple of what it's worth. I mean, I was offered, you know, to a different celebrity. He wanted the bike really bad. And I said, hey, the bike's for sale, but, you know, it's going to cost you $100,000. Like, that's my stupid number, you know, I don't want to sell it price. He's like, dude, you're crazy, you know, this and that. And the bike's only worth about 35. And I was like, yeah, but you know, it's $100,000 of happiness to me. You know, it's like, I would need $100,000 to buy something else that would make me that happy, that I like to look at, and so on and so forth. And then he calls, and 2 weeks later, you know, he offered me $70,000 or something like that. All my buddies are like, dude, you need to sell that bike. Like, get off of it. I'm like, no, I don't want to sell the bike. I mean, I literally have it sitting on my back patio. It's like first thing I look at when I wake up. Like, it makes me happier looking at that bike than looking at my wife in first thing in the morning.
Don't tell her that.
Like, I
Now
love
we're back to digging a hole with our wives.
Like, I love looking at the thing, you know, and it's like, what do I replace that happiness with, you know? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
anyway, he calls me like 2.5 weeks later or something and says, I'm going to do the $100,000 with you. I said, I'm stupid. And I said, bro, you missed your opportunity. I said, the bike's not for sale now. He's like, oh, you told me this and that. And he goes, I said, well, I just don't want to sell it, you know? And he's like, he goes, you know, I'll buy the bike for 100 and this, and then I'll leave it to your family when they die. And I was like, you know, and I was like, that's cool. Or if I sell it because of my celebrity status, you know, I'll split with you anything over that, you know, I make. And I'm like, nah, not for sale.
That's
Not
awesome.
for sale.
All right, so who was it?
Can't tell you.
Oh, please, listen to this guy.
Can't tell you.
He doesn't want to ruin his.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
you didn't speak poorly of him at
Yeah.
all. Deal didn't happen.
That's good though, because I think
Because a lot of people want to stay anonymous.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, I've got a lot of collectors
Yeah.
that, you know, I buy through corporations and,
Yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, they do not, you know, they're very, very
Right.
paranoid of,
Well,
like,
plus
I don't
you're
want
talking
nobody to
about
know I have this stuff.
Because then
Like,
someone can hunt you down, and
Right.
you know you see
Right.
it with the celebrities with the watches and jewelry. But I think that's admirable, because it just goes to show not everything's for sale.
mhm,
This person's probably very wealthy, buy whatever he wants. Everyone always gives him or her whatever they want,
right.
and you know you said no, and I guarantee you it makes them even want it more. So when the time comes, if you do want to sell it, I'm sure you could even get more than $100,000 for it.
Exactly. So, you know, like I said, it makes me happy. And
Yeah,
I know it would cost me over $100,000 to find something that makes me that happy.
sure.
So,
When you think about valuation, it truly is just, you know, subjective, you know. Something can become super valuable because of demand or because someone just has to have it, you know. It's weird, you know, it's weird how certain thing, you know,
One man's junk.
it's
One
true.
man's
It's
treasure.
true. I
Yep.
mean, even with these items here that, you know, I would never have thought the prices that they go for. I mean, some of these things went for huge money at Mecum, and you know, it's all about just supply, demand, and the desirability of items. But hopefully that continues. You know, there's still demand, and because obviously within the motorcycle industry, especially with new bikes, things aren't going so well right now. You know, the market isn't strong on new bike sales.
Well, I mean, it
You know?
really is in our industry of vintage and antique right now too. I mean, over the last year we've seen a pretty, you know, big decline of what people are paying and how much they're buying and how much they're collecting. And, you know, it scares me a little bit. Like, you know, I mean, I don't have a 401k,
Right.
you know, I don't put into it anymore. You know, my 401k is my rusty junk, you know, it's like
Sure.
my bikes, my parts, my everything. And, you know, I don't really want to see my stuff fall into the wayside. Like we see the Model Ts, you know, the brass era cars, you know, I mean, those stuff, 30, 40,000 to buy one. Now you can buy them for like 5,000, 6,000, you know,
It's crazy. Yeah.
you know, I'm just hoping my stuff
Doesn't go down.
doesn't end up like that, you know, which if it does, it does. I mean, I still like looking at it and
Yeah, it's still cool.
enjoying it and
So as a-
tinkering with it. And
Yeah.
As a vintage collector, do you take certain precautions? You said you keep them all running. You want to jump on and ride them, but I mean, you keep them in a climate controlled warehouse. Are they sitting in a normal garage? I mean, you said you got your favorite ones on the back patio. So now you got my gears spinning. Like, geez, how do you keep these things?
That's the toughest part. I mean, especially since I've now relocated and spending most of my time here in Arizona. I mean, it's not an ideal climate, you know, to ride these things when it's 100 and 110 degrees and, you know, really just storing them and stuff dries out. And, I mean, I try to keep everything. I mean, I actually got like 10 bikes sitting outside right now at my place. Like, you know, I'm worried about tweakers coming to get them, this and that.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't really have no storage area, you know. I've been begging Ari to give me his back lot for a while, you know. And I actually did have some stuff stored here for a long time. It's like, oh man, I'll get it next week.
Yeah,
week.
like,
I think
Jason,
it's been on
remember
for
that?
like 10 months.
That's all right.
Just because
Adam's got shit here too. Everyone stores their shit here.
because now I got it at home. It's sitting outside, like
Yeah.
you know.
That's what the toy barns are for. So we've talked a lot about obviously bikes. Why'd you move to Arizona, by the way? Because what drove you here?
It's always been me and my wife's end goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had family in Arizona for a long time. Not permanent residents there. They've always been snowbirds and stuff like that. And my grandmother moved down here many, many years ago, and I was like, I'm gonna go visit my grandma, and you know, leave in South Dakota when it's 30 below and 6 feet of snow, and you come down here and shit, you got orange trees in your yard and lemon trees, and you just wake up in the morning, grab an orange, and just the attitude of everybody, and it's always just kind of been our end goal. And we decided to, when COVID hit, to move our end goal up a little bit, and let's get a place down here before we get driven out of the market. And we ended up finding a place out in East Valley, a couple acres, and everything that I could need. Well, except for two shops. Got one shop, but I could use two. But everything else, every place to park my trucks and trailers, and we just love it down here. I mean, our mental health has gone, from being chill and happy to to really good now. It just, the atmosphere, the weather.
Awesome.
It's still like going back to South Dakota. I love that during the summertime.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
My wife, she loves it. She stays in Arizona full time now. She's
used to
done with South Dakota. Too many nightmares at the campground, and
yeah, she got stuck doing all the work there. While you guys were goofing around.
People
going to
thinking
car
she's
shows.
a dang waitress.
Exactly.
That's
no
right.
respect.
Shame on me. So talking about Arizona, there's this event that we used to go to during the Laughlin River Run, when the river run went on, called Oatman.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still involved? Tell us about Oatman. Are you still involved in that anyway?
Yeah, a little bit when I can be. I mean, it's the river run now kind of coincides with some other events that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And of course, there is no Laughlin River
Right.
Run anymore. I think they broke it into like Oatman Bike Week and Kingman,
Yeah.
Route 66. There's like 6 different events
Sure.
going on now.
What's
so.
the history of Oatman? Like, for those who don't know, like, what's the deal?
Oatman's an old Arizona mining town, like an old gold mining town. You know, the population's like 20, 30 people, something like that. There's actually more donkeys in town than there is people. I think there's like 50, 60 donkeys that just roam the streets. And it's just a cool little historic town and a great place to do events. It's right on Route 66. Anyway, my partner in the campground, Sean, he owns probably half the town up there. So I go up there just to help out and be a part of the events up there and, you know, help them set up and organize and manage some stuff. And it's just fun to go up there. I mean, we actually owned a house in Oatman for quite a while. We just sold it maybe about a year ago or something like that. Just it's a weird place to stay though, because at like 4:00 it turns into a ghost town. Like nobody's walking the streets. It's like every building is creaking, and it's a weird place to, you know, no cell phone service, no internet. Like,
yeah.
no, I like that kind of stuff, but I like my internet. I like to scroll my social
It's good
media.
for like a day or two. I couldn't. I know Sean spends a lot of time there. It's like, I don't know.
Sounds like heaven.
Yeah, you'd probably. love it
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I do like it, but I got to have some. Like, I love food. Where are you gonna eat at in Oatman? You know,
Yeah.
nowhere. You know, I got to have my restaurants. And,
Yeah, I have some options.
you know, my internet and.
Yeah, I know obviously you're a foodie.
Yeah,
You like food, but what about something people wouldn't? You know, we talked about earlier today. What about something people wouldn't know about you? Like, what else do you? What
Yeah.
do
So
you enjoy?
we were just talking about this earlier. Like, your wife was like, I'd never picture him for that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I like the creature comforts. Like, I love going to spas. You know, I like getting pedicures. You know,
Yeah.
Hold on. When we say spa, like how spa are we talking? Are we talking
Spa.
mud wrap, deep
all of it.
wrap up? I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Oil
He was giving me
treatments.
advice in Vegas. You got to go check out Resort. What's the name of the place?
Yeah, Resorts World.
Resorts World. They got
yeah.
the best spa. I'm like,
Fountain of Youth
Oh.
Spa, man. It's great. Like, just good. You know, because me, I'm running and gunning all the time. Like, you know, last year alone, I went from coast to coast 6 times. You know, I put on 50, 60,000 miles, you know, because with the Cannonball, you know, we got to do each one of these routes. You know, I got to be on it 4 or 5 times just to make sure it's completely accurate. So I'm running and gunning all the time, and I'm on the phone all the time. I mean, I'm up at sun's up, I'm up, and, you know, I'm not going to bed until 10, 11, 12 at night. And, you know, to me, getting out of town, you know, going to a resort, Vegas, San Diego, you know, Huntington Beach, somewhere like that, you know, that's kind of my disconnect. And then even further disconnected is, you know, when I can't have my phone in the spa, you know, so you're just taking in the moment and relaxing. And it's really the only time I get to relax is when I actually take care of myself in a spa.
can't imagine him in a robe.
Oh, I could just see him with cucumbers on his
Oh,
eyes.
dude, I'm all about it. Like Speedos and
Nice.
robes and
You gotta try
scalp treatments and oil treatments
The
and
best is Korean spa.
those are
Korean
nice too.
spas
Yeah,
are
yeah.
nice. You ever done a
Water
Korean
table
spa?
massages and
There's like, it's
they're a
it's
little
relaxing,
weird.
man.
Yeah,
It's
there's some weird stuff. I like the more mellow approach type stuff, just the relaxation, the Zen part of it, and
Yeah.
it's really the only way to disconnect.
He likes Japanese. Like, tell me about the best sushi places to go, and
Yeah, just
wouldn't have never known
wouldn't
sushi
known.
and spas.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, I'm not such a sushi guy, but dude, you want the best steakhouses in the world, I can tell you that. Like,
yeah.
over the last year, I haven't really drank over the last year. I'm kind of focusing on my health and trying to lose some weight. So I'm staying out of restaurants and drinking and stuff like that. But I love wine. Like, I love good, expensive wine.
Yeah, he drinks Cabernet. He's sitting him and his buddy having a glass of Cabernet. You know, it's
Yeah,
funny.
it's just
talking
I
about
like
their
wine.
mani pedis.
I love wine too. Yeah. I collect. That's something you got to stay away from. I collect wine.
Dude,
That's a slippery
I
slope.
can't collect it because I drink it all.
Oh yeah,
You know,
well
it's
that's
like,
true. But that's an
I mean, I
expensive
remember,
hobby.
you know, my assistant Jose, my right hand man, that been helping me on my trips, and you know, he's a retired law enforcement officer, and
Good guy. Great guy.
so
Stud.
yeah.
I'm just taking him everywhere in the country with me. Like, he's been so law enforcement up for a long time. You know, he's been stressed his whole life, just in crazy situations. And he's like, I want your life. You know, you don't do.
You don't do anything.
You don't do shit.
You have fun. You travel.
All right. You want to see my life? All right, come with me then. And I mean, he did it kind of on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And you know, been across the country with me 4 or 5 times now. And anyway, he was kind of into wine and, you know, kind of into good food and steaks and. Oh, I've ruined that boy.
Yeah.
I'm with them at Born Free last year, and we go to dinner at some place I recommend, and they're cracking bottles of Camus open. You know, like I was like,
like one of our last trips for the Cannonball, it was like, you know, it takes us 16 days to get across the country, just as long as it would on a motorcycle we do in a car. And the last trip we did was like, let's, you know, every night we're gonna get good food. Boy, my credit card was smoking by the time we got, you know, because it would be like 2-3 bottles of Camus a night or something, and then $100 steak, and
he lost money on that.
Oh
that
my
event,
God,
huh?
yeah, it's like
One of your wife's
my
pissed at
accountant is
you.
like, what is all this? You know,
Your wife's like, you didn't even take
client
me to the
client
expensive
meals
dinners.
every night.
Yeah, you're like, so I didn't take me to expensive wines and dinner. You're taking your boyfriend over there. That's what my wife always says. She's like, you went out with, like with you and Adam. You going? What are you doing with your boyfriend today? You know, where's your boyfriend taking you? You know, tell your boyfriend stop spending money on him. That's funny. Yeah. So what you know, any other hobbies or interests outside of motorcycling that you have?
I used to really be into hunting
Okay.
and fishing.
That's up
yeah.
alley.
I mean, I love bow hunting.
Well,
Ah,
being in
right
South
there.
Dakota, I mean,
Oh yeah. I
That's
mean,
your deal, right? You're
oh,
a
I
big
love
bow
And to
hunter.
me, that was another way to disconnect. I mean, it was in very stressful situations. You know, when I had my electrical contracting business, and you know, the gun hunting, it was like, I was still running and gunning, like, you know, drive here, shoot, boom. You know, it's a fast life. And then I took up archery, and I was like, man, I like this. You know, and I was shooting competitive archery, 3D shooting, target shooting. And then I just parlayed it into hunting. Like I never touched a gun for 5 or 6 years, you know, just because I enjoyed bow hunting so much. Like, I mean, I was, of course, bow hunting deer, elk, but then I'd bow fish for carp, and then it was like, well, let's go prairie dog hunting with bows. And, you know, the goal was just to try to, like, what can I kill with my bow? What can I sneak up on, you know, because it's very, very disciplined when you bow hunt.
Yeah.
Of, you know, one, being quiet, and, you know, practicing scent smells and your scents, and, you know, just to see how close you can get to these animals. And
Sure.
I really, really enjoyed that. And I'm actually looking forward to maybe kind of getting back into it a little bit. You know, we've been doing a little bit of fishing lately and boating, and,
Sure.
you know, I'm with the campground, you know, over the last 15 years, we've always just been busy every summer. Like, as soon as the weather's nice until it closes. I mean, we're working every single
Right.
day, and, you know, now we've both kind of stepped back a little bit, and I'm enjoying my summers a little bit and
Sure.
doing some stuff for me. Like, you know, I like boating, you know, I want to get back into hunting and fishing, and
Sounds like Lionel's life: boating, hunting.
I love it all.
fishing.
I love it.
And you
Yeah.
live in Arizona now. There's good big game hunting here. Nice elk hunting in Arizona.
Yeah.
And
I
lakes,
mean,
plenty
shit,
of
I
lakes,
could
too.
I could do it right in my yard if I want. I mean,
Oh,
daily
yeah,
I got
yeah.
coyotes and javelinas, and actually had some deer in my yard the other day, which
Really?
kind of surprised me.
Nice.
I come out of the shop, and I was walking, and I scared it, and, you know, he about ran me over, and I was like, I
That's
didn't even know there
nice.
was no deer within 50 miles of here. but-
Really?
You're not too far from Sorrel Lake, right? As well.
No, yeah. We're just a few miles away from Canyon and Saguaro,
Saguaro.
about the same distance. And so we've been getting a boat out there every once in a while and doing that. And
That's awesome.
actually had a black bear in our house the other day.
What?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Man, you're like.
Yeah,
I
just
didn't-
we got a wash that runs through our property, and it was traveling through the wash.
Yeah.
And
Can you kill those
a
things?
little
Are they
mom and a
protected?
little
Oh, you
cub,
want to do
and
that with the baby? Yeah. That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, you and I, we were at Barrett Jackson, like, what is it, a couple weeks ago, and got to meet Craig Jackson, which is pretty
Mhm.
cool. And when you look at some of those boats, man, they want it, like the ski boats. Like, I know you have a little late model. Yours a little older. You got a second. you
I
got a good-
sold
you got-
mine.
Oh, you did?
Sold my Malibu, looking for another one now.
Man, they had these boats. They were
Well,
like,
they always say, best day is the first day and the last
that's
day.
right.
You bet.
A boat.
They want a couple $100,000 for some of these boats, right?
that's-
Was it a couple hundred for those?
Yeah.
Pavati's
Yeah.
400.
Pavati's like
Pavati,
400.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even the wake crafts and stuff they had, that they were all
Sleek crap. Yeah,
I mean, the
250 to 450.
yeah, brand new wake setter. My dream boat, 25-foot pickle nose, would be 300.
jeez.
Yeah, it's
And they hold their
insane.
value too, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's
Down
I mean, I
here,
sold my boat.
I could see that justified, but in South Dakota, I'm seeing these guys, and they got like a 2-month boating season. Like, how do you justify that? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's cool, but it's like,
that's nuts.
I always wondered, what did boat? Oh, boat always stood for break out another 1,000.
Yep.
yeah,
now
he
it's
can
like,
attest to that.
Oh yeah.
what? I mean, now with the boats that much, I mean, what is it like? Break out another 10,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
My dad's owned 3 or 4 boats, and every time he buys one and then he sells, he says, never gonna get another one. And he always buys another one. I think it's obviously done now. It's gotten, the boats got bigger, more expensive, but I learned through him. He asked me if I wanted to buy into the last boat. I'm like, hell no. And I'm so
No.
glad. You're better off having a friend with a boat or renting a boat. That's what I've learned.
It's
I love
addicting.
them.
Yeah.
Boats are like crack cocaine, just like motorcycles are. You know,
They are
it's like
one and the same. I
you
say
don't
all the
want
time,
it, but then you do, and then it's like, you get wrapped up in it. Like, you have some fun, and then it's
gotta
like,
go.
It's those
kick the
expensive
habit.
hobbies.
it
Yeah.
is.
Motorcycles, boats, hunting, and then I threw horses on top of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
It's
guns
just like
also.
horses. Yeah, guns
another
as
one.
well,
That's
but-
my thing, guns.
yeah.
But the
Sure.
thing about a boat, though, is you say that, it's somebody else to have a boat, but there's something to be said just to take that boat yourself, by yourself with your wife, and just cruise the lake. And
Yeah,
just
it's fun.
chill.
Yeah. Well, you have kids too, so
Oh, yeah, I
with
mean,
you, with the
boys love
kid,
it.
Yeah, I loved it as a kid, going out on the boat, skiing, and or going out on the ocean when my dad had a boat. It was great, but cleaning it and taking care of it. That's the other.
But you never
Part.
boated in Arizona yet. Boy, what a freaking eye opener that is! Holy moly! I mean, it's a comedy just sitting on the boat
Oh,
ramp.
it's
These
everywhere.
guys don't know how
Oh,
to
yeah,
drive
what they're
trucks
doing,
or
yeah.
back up trucks, and I
Yeah.
don't even think half of them know how to even start their boats half
I'll
the
tell you, I
time.
watched
It's
a guy
chaos, and I'm like, when we go,
Pull a couple
we're like
chairs
the
up just
first
to
people
watch.
there. Like, I want to be the first one on the lake because
yeah.
somebody's going to get shot today on the boat ramp.
I'll tell you,
That's
I watched
funny.
that or divorces. I watched a guy one time, didn't see him launch the boat, but apparently he was coming back and he was floating at the dock. And I could overhear him barking and yelling on the phone at somebody. Just bought this brand new boat and it wouldn't get on plane, wouldn't go, was dogging. He's like, I'm just going to load it back up. And we had loaded my boat and we were pulling up. And I watched the truck back down into the ramp without a trailer. Well, that's strange. Guy drives his boat straight up to that truck.
No way.
When he launched, he unhooked the trailer from the truck. And he's cruising along with that trailer just by
On
the
the boat?
straps on the
What?
boat.
Oh my god.
And he's barking at probably the dealer he bought the boat from. This piece of crap, I'm 200 large into this boat and it won't
Oh my
go.
God, that's awesome. I love it.
But again, it's different.
City folk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you mean motorcycles, you got to have a little knowledge before you can just jump on and
Yeah,
go. A
exactly.
boat, though, a lot of people feel like, oh, it's not a foot pedal, it's a throttle here and it's a steering wheel. That's
Yeah,
it.
they
It's
have no
easy.
clue. Yeah.
So they jump into them and they go. But those high-end boats
That's
now, I mean,
nuts.
even a recreational boat, they're
Oh, that's-
financing them on 30-year
I know,
notes.
'cause
Oh,
they're
yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Because of the
expensive.
price point.
That's nuts.
Well, actually, the last boat I looked at, I'm looking at upgrading right now, and the last one, it actually had a.
Oh, you're talking about the jet ski ones?
Yeah, the
those
ski-
are
the
badass.
ski
and
doo.
they're all
Oh,
modular.
okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Little jet.
Yeah,
Had
they're
a little
modular.
pontoon boat.
Yeah, those are badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with those. Yeah.
Like motorcycle on water.
That's true.
No,
Yeah,
what I
those
want-
things are crazy fun.
I want the old school. My mind's from blank. The wake bikes. Is
X2.
that what they were called?
Or,
Back from the
you're talking
80s.
about
The
ones
wet
that,
bikes.
that come up.
Yes,
Are you
they
talking
had-
ones where you stand
that-
on them?
No, you sit
it
on
was
it
a
and it
seat
elevates.
and it had a plane and it would come up on a plane and it was same thing. It was throttle and
Yeah,
it was
wet bike.
full
I think they call
wet
them
bike.
jet bikes or wet bikes. Yeah, those are
That's
those are
what I
90s.
want.
That
Those
would
are
be fun.
90s. Yeah.
That's getting in my realm. That's vintage now.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's old
Yeah.
school.
Found a new,
I can
a new-
justify it.
yeah, that's
Start
right.
hunting for
Yeah.
those,
Yeah,
would
yeah.
you?
Tell Leanne you
It's a
found a new
write-off.
passion now. what's like the most crazy find you've ever had where you go out and you're like, holy shit, I hit the mother load. Is there a bike where you weren't expecting it? You're like, this is
Well, almost every bike is like that to me. I've found some cool stuff in barns. I mean, I've found one of a very, very rare bike on a golf course. You know, like a house on a golf course. Like you know, you would never expect to even see a motorcycle in this place. And yet, you know, he's got bike parts in the garage, and finding a very rare bike, you know, on a country club was kind of crazy.
Country club find.
Yeah. It's like, I loved it. Like, I love that story.
Yeah.
I mean, I found stuff like, and sometimes you just got to ask. Like, I remember one of the rarest bikes and nicest bikes I ever bought was a 1913 Sears original paint.
Wow.
And we happened to be on the Cannonball. I think it was like 2018. And this dude shows up at one of our stops at like one of the dealerships, and he folds the trailer open, and, you know, he's got this beautiful 1913 Sears. And, you know, everybody thought he was just there to show it off. Like, hey, I got this bike, look at it. And I was the only dude that asked him if it was for sale. I was like, I got to ask, is it for sale? 'Cause
Right,
I love
right.
it.
Right.
Well, that's why I brought it here, to sell it. And he says, you're the first person that actually asked me if it was for sale. I'm like, oh, man. I said, I got to leave here in like 5 minutes. But I said, I want this bike. Like, what are we going to do? Let's make a deal. I said, I can't come back for a few weeks. You know, let me leave you a deposit or something like that. And I'm like, oh, shit, I ain't got nobody to give you a deposit. Like, I don't know if I should say this, but I ran over to the merch tent, you know, where we're selling all the T-shirts.
I took some of the cash. Petty cash.
Grabbed all their cash and, like,
Here's your
you know, gave this
deposit.
guy a deposit. I had no clue who
Right.
this dude was and never met him before. And I'm
Right.
trusting him with, like, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 down payment on this thing, and said, hey, I'll be back in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And, you know, 5 minutes later, I'm on to the next city. And, you know,
That's
a week
crazy.
later, I'm halfway across the country, you know. But 2 weeks after the event, I finally did get a hold of the guy. I was a little nervous because I hadn't been able to get a hold of him. He was like in St. Barth's or something like that for a while. And anyway, I finally got it and went back and bought the bike and ended up buying another bike from him. And, you know, now I got a great relationship with the
Did you
dude.
ever flip those bikes? You still own those bikes?
The Sears I did. I sold that to a museum in Utah, the Legends Museum. That one went to that. It just belonged in that collection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it's, you know, like I said, I mean, I can be a caretaker of it for a little bit, but ultimately it's trying to find the next caretaker
Sure.
a lot of times.
Yeah.
Are museums, you deal with a lot of museums that are looking to add to their collection?
Yeah, so deal with a lot of museums, a lot of private museums. You know, people like private collections, and they like to call it their museum, and
Of course.
you know, so dealing in, you know, bikes, a little bit in cars, you
Yeah.
know, the
These things, yeah.
memorabilia,
Yeah.
signs,
I love the
you know, just
memorabilia.
curation. You know,
Yeah.
really, I mean, a collection isn't a collection until you really have some curation behind it.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, you're even
Some stuff that tells stories, and
Sure. I mean, even like I don't know if you brought the toys today with you, but
Mhm.
like even like these little die cast motorcycle police
Oh, the old
little
school.
toy.
Mhm.
I mean, it's amazing
Right.
what is collectible. You even bought
Yeah.
documents from the last one.
oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. I'm not buying as much paper as I used to anymore because I don't really know how to display it. You know,
Right,
I don't
right.
really have enough wall space, and you know,
Sure.
and I don't look at it enough, and you know, but I love buying original artwork,
Yeah.
you know, trench art type stuff, unique pieces.
What's a trench art? What's that?
You know, somebody would take like maybe a motorcycle part, or you know, like an old World War II part, and then they make it into art. You know,
Oh,
they
I see what you're
repurpose,
saying.
Yeah.
Even
repurposing stuff.
Even
yeah.
I mean, I know you got a motor for me. That was
Mhm.
actually the other thing we got through Urban's
Mhm.
auction. It was a motor,
Right.
1910
1910 Yale. Yeah.
Yale, and I haven't shown it to you yet. It's in the other room, but just it's on a little stand, and it's people look at it. It's beautiful. It's just
Yeah.
this 100-year-old
Yeah, it's artwork.
motor that,
Yeah.
that actually a functioning piece of artwork.
Yeah. I mean, some people see artwork as Da Vinci's and Picasso's.
Right.
And, you know, my artwork is like motorcycles, parts, you know, signs. I love gas and oil stuff. To me, that's art. You know,
Yeah.
especially stuff from like the 20s and 30s. Everything was very Art Deco.
Sure.
You know, I mean, good colors, good graphics. You know, stuff was made to last.
Yeah.
You know, to me, stuff in real day, I don't really see anything that's like in the last 30 years it's collectible, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, frickin' Beanie Babies, yeah. You know, but that craze is over.
Yeah.
Those things are junk now.
You made and
know,
lost your money in that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You moved on.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another story we could go
Yeah.
into a long time.
Even like, I mean, I know you like cow. I mean, those Remingtons go for huge money,
Yeah.
and those
Yeah.
bronze
Vintages.
Remingtons. Yeah.
So
It's-
it just stuff isn't built the way that it used to.
Right.
Then it's not it's not built to be collectible, I don't think. And I think
Right.
when they were building that stuff back in the day, it wasn't collectible, but it, a lot of
They didn't have
people-
options
Yeah.
to
Right.
They just
reduce
kept
the cost of it or to reduce the materials. To
right.
sew it.
They were repurposing as stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I went in and bought a whole shed of signs where the whole inside walls, instead of using sheetrock, they use old porcelain signs and
Crazy.
just repurposed all that stuff. And
That's gone through. I mean, you were talking about Barrett Jackson. The signs going through. I mean, $10,000-$20,000 for signs.
I mean, I seen a sign actually on Facebook the other sell for like 300,000 a porcelain sign, which is for a little Facebook auction. It's pretty crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. It's just, I guess people long for.
Oil cans,
Yeah,
and,
oil-
and
yeah.
sands.
Well,
It's-
mark the day that he said he doesn't see anything in the last 30 years be collectible, and there'll be something we've been throwing away and not
Yeah,
caring
that's-
about that
yeah,
are
that's
worth
the thing.
millions now.
I rack my brain on it daily. Like,
Oh, I bet.
what do I collect now? Because I'm a collector by heart, and it's like
Right.
some of the stuff that I'm getting outpriced on. Like I can't really afford to buy good gas and oil signs
It's too
anymore.
expensive.
They're
Yeah.
10, 20, 30, 40,000. And it's just like, I value everything in entertainment dollars now. It's not like
Right.
if it really costs that, it's like, maybe this one piece might cost 100,000. How much entertainment is that going to give me? How much happiness and joy? Can I take that 100 and buy 10 things that make me
Right.
10 times happier?
True.
So
True.
and so I just kind of value everything in collecting now of entertainment and happiness value.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So, I know you said you're about to go look at a collection here soon, right?
Yeah. I was actually supposed to leave this weekend
Oh yeah, but we
to go
delayed
look at this
it.
collection, and I look at my schedule like, oh man, I got some kind
And
of
hopefully we don't
podcast
lose
or
a deal on
something.
it. So this guy passed away. Do you find a lot of these collectors just kind of don't really plan? And obviously, it's one thing to die unexpectedly, but when you're getting a little up there and you foresee that you're not going to be around forever, does that happen a lot where these guys just kind of
lot.
leave it to their wives or kids to deal with after the
A lot.
fact?
And actually, I mean, I do see that a lot. One of the things that I'm really working on now that I've incorporated with the classic brokering is I'm doing a lot of estate planning. So I'm going in and educating, families, even the caretaker. Like, I go in, this guy's 80 years old, like, they're finally ready to give up on this stuff, because a lot of times this stuff dictates your life rather than you dictating
Right,
your own life.
right,
You
yeah.
get so wound up in all these parts and motorcycles. Sometimes you're afraid to leave because you think somebody might steal them, or I got to do this, I got to maintain that, and these guys finally get to an age in life, like, hey, I'm done. I'm ready to move on. I want to go vacation. I want to go do this. I want the money. And so a lot of times I'm going in and being like, more doing kind of a estate plan. Like, this is how we can liquidate the stuff. This is what I can do. I can offer you this much money if I want to buy it. Maybe I move these parts to this person. Let me put a
Sure.
value on it for the estate, and let me put a plan together of how you can get out from underneath some of this stuff sometimes, and without being taken advantage of. I
Sure.
mean, it's like this lady that I'm going to see in California. It's like, the husband was kind of well known, and word is getting out that he had died, and now she's getting bombarded with calls, and
Sure.
of course a lot of them are people wanting to take advantage of her,
Sure.
in her weak moment. I mean, she's 85, 87 years old and has no clue what value it is. I mean, she's
Sure.
been begging her husband for months to years
Right.
to put a value on it, and what is it, and that's kind of where I'm filling the void, is I'm going in and
Sure.
helping families.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's a nice thing to be able to do.
A little give back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I'm about the stories and,
Right.
the history, and trying to preserve the history and pass on the history, and, just make sure that the new caretakers know, hey, this is a person that had this and that. And,
Sure.
to me, it's not about making the money all the time. It's, like I said, preserving history and and hearing the stories and, you know, just learning myself and getting educated by some of these guys that are getting older or from their spouses, you know, telling me the stories. So
Sure. So you've been doing this now, this latest part of your career, 10 years or so now?
yeah, the buying and selling, I mean, I've been doing it my whole life. You know, it
Okay.
started with, you know, cars back in the day and, you know, different collectible things and you know, but really serious in the antique motorcycles probably the last 15 years or so. And then actually going legit, you
Right.
know, a purpose of, you know, why I'm trading so much money and dollars and actually having a business probably for about the last 2 years.
Two. So do you foresee yourself doing this for another 10, 20, 30? I mean, is this how you're going to be your
Honestly, I
path?
mean, I think I'll be doing this until probably the day I die.
Sure.
You know, I'm not one of those guys that can just sit and relax. I mean, I like my spa time. You know, I like those little creature comforts, but
Sure.
I'm not a dude that, I mean, and that's for, you know, 4 or 5 hours at a time. You know,
Right.
by the time that's done, I'm ready to get back on the phone searching.
Right.
It's always the next hunt, you know, the next deal to be made. So, you know, I think I'll always be hustling until I can't anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. You don't have to do 9 to 5. You kind of just, your life is your job and you
Right.
kind of intermingle. And that's
Yeah.
cool that you can get on the road with your van and go find some cool shit.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I'm gone quite a bit. I mean, I think last year I was gone almost half the year by the time all my trips with the Cannonball,
Sure.
you know, trips with this, going doing estate stuff, chasing parts, going to swap meets, different rallies, and you know, I was gone quite a bit. So
You got to get this guy involved. He's gonna have to be your next victim.
Yeah.
it needs to be chasing some of that stuff in them barns out there in Utah.
That's right. Barn
They're out
finds.
there, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I just heard of a big collection in Utah. It's actually an aircraft hangar,
Really?
Oh,
like
You tell
massive amounts of cars, like cars, bikes, gas and oil stuff. Like this dude owns his whole. It's kind of like the Erickson Ranch,
me. Oh, okay.
but it's like on the west side slums of Salt Lake, somewhere out there.
You
That
just
this
tell
dude
me.
just got
I'll
his
go,
whole
I'll
airport.
go and I'll just FaceTime for you.
that's right. You can be the videographer.
Yeah.
You can be what's the guy?
I'll be
that-
your spotter.
Yeah.
I need some of your banking relationships too.
Yeah.
Bank of Mormon.
That's the part now. It's like, you know, stuff's getting so expensive that,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's getting tough to take down some of these collections because it's
Right.
a massive amount.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is if you have to
Cash.
buy them, and then who knows if the market turns, you could be upside down. You know, that'd be my biggest fear. Is
Right.
I guess you could always ride out the market until it comes back up, but if you're in the business of buying and selling,
Right.
tying up a lot of cash, if something goes down in value, that's
Right.
that's a big risk.
That's kind of what I've done this year. I mean, over the last year, you know, the market's been down and, you know, not a lot of people buying a whole lot of different things in the car and bikes. And, you know, I was buying inventory at that time. Like, you know, it makes sense. I mean, I know I can make money on it. I'm just going to ride it out a little bit. I'm not going to put it on the website. I'm not going to market it for sale because it's just not the right time. And, you know, probably the last 5 or 6 weeks has been the right time. I mean, I'm seeing more and more stuff sell. And, you know, so now I'm putting my own inventory on and moving and recycling some of it now.
Awesome. I love the recycling.
Yeah. That's your thing.
Recycling.
I'm gonna tell my wife that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my new
You're
code.
just recycling.
Yeah,
I
but
gotta
you don't
recycle.
you don't recycle. You just
No,
keep,
I'm in that
hold it.
acquisition phase now. But one of these days.
One of these days you get in there recycling.
Yeah, I
mode.
might.
No, one
Or-
of these days there's going to be somebody going through his estate.
That's right. Hopefully.
Going, you won't believe what we found. This guy got into
I know,
everything.
wine, guns.
He's got beanie babies.
No Beanie Babies. My mom did the Beanie Baby thing.
Cashed out.
Yeah, you know what's before Beanie Babies was Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife, my
Remember that.
mom was into that
Remember
too.
that craze.
Maybe that's why I
Wow.
collect shit because my mom's got it in her blood. She did it when she was younger, and now I do it in my own way.
There you
But
go.
For me, I think I collect and hoard because, you know, I didn't have anything when I was a kid, you know. I mean, it was just me and my mom and my grandfather, you know, when he was around. And, you know, I just had no material possessions. And when I finally got into a phase in life I could start getting some, I was like, you know, why not?
yeah,
You know, started, you know, guns and collectibles and
yeah,
a lot of different things. And, you know, then you lose it sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think to me it's the same as you. It's kind of the story behind how you get it. You know, there is an investment component with me too, but also
Mhm.
just the beauty of being able to, you know, look at these art pieces of art, you
Mhm.
know, in the studio or in the office, and just really appreciate the time and effort
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
the
you know, artistry.
entertainment. It's the entertainment value, you know.
Yeah, and being able to bond with someone else over it and
Right.
really appreciate it. So, you know, you got your old guns, right? You're into the old Western guns. That's your
Yep.
thing, right? Yeah. So I think we all have our thing. You just got to find what interests you. And obviously, if someone's interested in, you know, acquiring motorcycles, parts, you
Mhm.
know, bronzes, they can just reach out to you directly. How do they
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
you?
absolutely. Got my website, classicmotorcycleconsignments.com. Of course, I got motorcyclecannonball.com. You know, you Google antique motorcycle. A lot of times my picture will come up
Sure.
and different stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. You know, people message me on all platforms.
Yeah.
I got people calling me from overseas, like, hey, what's the value of this or that? And hey, can
Sure.
you help me find something? And,
Sure.
you know, and that I enjoy that, whether you buy something from me or not, you know, just creating another friendship in the
Yeah.
industry and another contact in the network, hearing another story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Very cool. Well, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to ask this?
Sheesh, man. You talk about building a relationship, getting a story. I got a relationship and a story now for days.
I know it's true. Well,
Maybe next time we'll get into some of the real crazy stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we can always do it again. And I
No,
really
he won't. He holds it all too tight.
well,
Hey, in my older age, I'm letting go. of some
He's
stuff.
letting go.
when
He's
you
going to
get-
recycle his stories. Is
when
what
you
he
get
said.
saying
Yeah,
out,
my
little
my
senile.
therapist is getting to me, you know, like
That's
let
right.
off the, you know, let people know and let them hear your story.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly appreciate what you've done for me, both as a friend and a partner with Cannonball Chase, and also now helping me on my collection journey with motorcycles and, you know, these beautiful pieces that Jeff Decker's produced. And I'm sure there's going to be more in the future. And I just want to thank you for the friendship and also for the support and the guidance. Because again, I would be pretty lost without a helping hand like you. So appreciate you coming on the show,
Yeah,
and it's been great catching up and talking to you. And we'll look forward to doing it again in the future.
Yeah. You better get back to work so you can afford some more
That's
stuff.
true.
I like to buy, he says.
Yeah, I work to buy. It's like a drug habit. It's like I got to work more to buy more stuff that I don't need, but that I like. So anyway, thanks again, man.
Yeah,
Really
you
appreciate
bet.
it. Thanks, Chase.
Sounds
All right,
good.
Take care.